Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, hello, kids and cubs. Good morning.
You're
As
just
you can see,
fucking cheerful for me this morning.
I'm festive today. Ah, good morning, kids and cubs, and welcome to the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Cryon Media Network. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Yes, kids and cubs, for those of you listening on podcast and you can't see me, I am wearing my Beaver Christmas hat because today I think we're going to get some prezzies. At least I'm hoping we'll get some prezzies here at the Beaver Lodge. As you can see, kids and cubs, I have hung my stocking by the Beaver Lodge chimney with care because, well, oops, there goes the dad jokes book. It is Christmas in January here at the Beaver Lodge because, hello, Canada, happy Foreign Interference Report Day.
For those who celebrate, anyway.
For those who observe.
Yes.
And trust me, I observe. Eyes wide open. I'm your host.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, go ahead.
There's a lot of people that are really anticipating the outcome of this today, and it's released at 11:45 a.m. today.
Yes. Now, we're going to have to manage some expectations here, but still, all right? So not bringing too much of a dapper on it. We're still celebrating. I'm your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns EM. Hey, Mr. Beaver, hey. And with me, as you can hear, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. Today, recording day is Tuesday, January 28th, 2025. Could you tell I'm excited? And it's going to be, I don't care what the weather is outside, it's going to be a lovely day here at the Beaver Lodge because we're going to get some truth today. And truth is something we like. Very, 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 very much. Big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today? As you can tell, I'm doing fine.
We're going to gloss over mine.
Okay.
And just move ahead and do the show.
All right. Let's do that then. Giving you a big hug, my friend.
Thank you.
And hoping that what the day contains will improve your mood. Before we do anything, I'm feeling cheerful. Let's look into the magic monitor here and see. Oh, I see Kit Elaine. I see Kit playing with 3D. Kit Cat W. Let's see who else. Oh, Kit uncovered the news. Good morning, Kit Cassie. Hello, dear one. Who else do we have here in the chat joining us for early Christmas 2025? Oh, Kit Hypertease 007. Hello. Nice to see you this morning, Kit Toronto Dan. Kit Mr. Jim. Hello, my friend. Love you very much. Big love to Mama Lori. Who else do we have here? Kit Mohan and family. Hello, dear ones. Lovely for you to join us. Kit Jillian. Hey, good morning to you. Nice to see you today. Who else do we have going through here? I love looking through the magic thing. Oh, Kit Empty Nest Gardens. That's a new name for me on the chat. So welcome to the Beaver Lodge if you're new here. And tempering my expectations, yes, that's a good idea. But still, feel some joy. Allow yourself some joy.
We've picked up some new viewers and new subscribers as of late.
Yes.
I don't know if it has to do with provocative titles for the show, because we haven't done any advertising in a while, because I don't have any money, is what it boils down to. I can't pay for it, so I can't do it. So, yeah, I don't know if it's been provocative show titles that have brought people in to see us, which is what we're trying to do, is get people to come in and watch. And we will always address what we put in the show title. We're not going to bait and switch. We're always going to address what we talk about. It might not be 100% the topic of the show, but it's definitely going to be part of the show. And it's the idea is to alert people as to what's going on in this country who are not fully aware and not getting the straight goods, and just don't necessarily have time to watch the 6 o'clock news. This is YouTube. We can go as long as we like. We can say whatever we want, within reason, of course.
Yes.
We don't tell lies. We only tell you the truth. We will give you opinions. And if our opinions are proven to be wrong, we will fully admit it and correct ourselves accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
But we're happy to bring in new people so that people can help spread the word and let Canadians know that there's a lot of stuff happening that you're not getting the straight goods on. You're getting pieces written from a largely right-wing evangelical perspective with American interests tied to it. And we don't dig that at all.
Not at all. Actually, when you mentioned that, something had passed by my Twitter feed. I'm just making a little detour here in my introduction here, kits. But it was a comment from someone in the States, in the administration, Mr. Risch. His name is, I can't remember which position he has. Oh yeah, chair of the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee. So one of the senators said he called the $1.3 billion border plan announced in response to Trump's tariff threat, quote, a delayed investment. Quote, border security should be a priority for both our countries, and I hope to see sustained investment from our friends to the north, Risch said in an email, which prompted me to think border security has always been a priority for our country, and we hope to see less attempting to run our affairs and more minding their own mess from our once friends to the south. Thank you. How about you guys run your own damn country?
Yeah,
because we're looking from up here, and you guys seem to have a whole lot more issues, and we're not one of them.
We got enough going on, and we're trying to take care of things on our own, but we don't need your input. Thank you very much.
Fuck all the way off. Thank you. Excuse me. Sorry. But it's like you're knocking on our door, telling us how to run our country. You said have you seen yourselves? Turn the video camera on yourselves for a while. Jeez, take a selfie. See what you look like. You're in a very bad position to be telling other people how to run their nations right now. Just saying. All right. But back to our stuff. Okay, so there's a lot going on. Right? We have a Bank of Canada interest rate announcement coming tomorrow. The U.S. Fed will have one tomorrow. Justice Hogue, Marie-Josée Hogue, as Mr. Grizzly said later this morning, will deliver her report on foreign interference. Turns out that the public version will be out at the same time. Now, at the same time, more or less. The version is already out. It's embargoed. Right? Mm-hmm. So people have already read it. There's going to be journalists in a room today. They're going to say they're probably pouring in now or earlier, around 8 or something like this. And, they're going to be in that room in the lockup. They're going to be looking at it, reading it, and they won't be able to say a thing until Marie-Josée Hogue delivers her public address and formally tables it. And then they will go wild. So when she does it, and you see newspaper articles come out right away and say, well, they couldn't have read the whole report just now. It's like they were in a room in a lockup for them. No, they probably haven't read the whole report yet. I don't know how many pages it will be. Chances are they will not have read it, but there will be an executive summary and all that kind of stuff. And, you jump back to the conclusions right after. So, you read the executive summary, you jump all the way back to the conclusions, and then you read what's in the middle. Right? So that's what journalists will do. So you probably won't get the full story today, because probably got to be lots in there, but you'll get the big lines, and as the next days come up, you'll be hearing more. To temper expectations, there's probably not going to be a smoking gun in
No,
it.
I don't believe there will be.
Okay. There's probably not going to be, aha, here's the list of the names of the traitors, run them out of them. There probably won't be that, right? The focus of it is probably going to be on things we can do. Maybe some legislative changes that need to be put in place to make sure that our elections are secure.
Well,
Ironically, as one of the people there, well, actually, technically, we have 3 at the moment calling for an election now, but one who really, really, really wants one right now. And I'm wondering why the leader of the opposition would like to sneak in an election before we can pass perhaps some legislative changes that would be recommended in this report before we have the election.
well, let's not forget too that you have certain individuals within this country who have. I'm trying to find a polite term to put it, but a strange obsession with Pierre Poilievre
Mhm.
to the point where they are urging people over the age of 14 from around the world to sign up for a liberal leadership, a liberal party membership, so that you can vote in for anybody but Mark Carney, which
Well, and
leads
then
me to believe.
specifically, they were hoping for Chandra. Now it seems they've all moved to Rubidala.
Yes, all Ruby Dalla now, yeah,
Yes. I'm seeing
because
these
Chandra's
tweets.
out.
Yes, these whole tweets. See, and this is like, okay, remember all those wonderful people who went to Kirkland Lake and came back jazzed and buzzed and energized after a Pierre Poilievre rally? The same team that brought you that is bringing the Chandra was so good.
Mm-hmm.
He was the best candidate. He was like, come on, man. Like, if you are going to attempt to gaslight me, right? I was in a relationship once because when my partner tried to gaslight me into believing that I was an inherently angry person. Okay, kits and cups. Those of you who've been on this show like for 3.5 years
Not gonna get
and
that far.
following
No,
right. Me,
no,
an inherently angry person? Come on.
no.
Right.
That's me.
I'm
Except I'm
assertive.
not. Except I'm
Yes.
not.
Right. I'm assertive. I'm
Mm-hmm.
firm.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to call a boundary, but I'm angry. Say, you could have made me believe a lot of things about myself. But of all the emotions you picked angry. That's just one I'm not. Like, I know I'm not. Right. So this is the same thing, right? Got this one. If you can't beat him, join him, then elect their leader. Chandra was so good. I signed up to exercise my democratic right to join a political party and elect their leader. Trudeau took that away. So much for diversity is our strength. Only white billionaires allowed. Chandra, love, love. Okay, come on. Chandra was so good. Let's be clear. Nobody, including probably about half the residents of this fucking electoral district, knew who Chandra was.
Yes, exactly.
Come on.
Exactly.
An MP since 2015 who made no noise the first time we heard about him is when he got into a scuffle with someone else.
It's just more horse shit.
An MP who was Sikh and an MP who was Hindu both got together and they had a skirmish. That was the first time he made news. And that was only a few weeks ago before he ran.
Yeah.
9 years in Parliament, we never heard his name. Chandra was so good.
I barely
You
knew who
don't
he
know
was.
Chandra.
I barely knew who he was.
That's right.
And we're a
all
political
these,
show.
I follow this. Listen, there are 338 MPs in the House, and I don't know all of them. And
Mhm.
recently, somebody like put this game on, this computer game, I guess, where they show you the legislature and they just ask you, they say, enter a last name. You could literally just guess Tremblay, Charbonneau, Roberts, Robertson, Johnson, like this, and this, and try to see if you can fill all 338. And the person who posted says, if you know more than 20, you probably got too much time on your hands. And I got to about 55 when I stopped. Okay. I know the names of at least 50 MPs. Right? Off the top of my head.
Mhm.
If I sat and actually thought about it, I could probably name another 20 or 30 more. I've never heard of this guy. Ever. But you got tens of thousands of people all over the internet going, Chandra was so good. He was the leader. Chandra was going to win. Come on.
Yeah,
Come
pull
on.
this leg and it plays Jingle Bells.
Maybe if you tried Gould, maybe if you tried Freeland, but Chandra? Really? It's like, pull on my left leg and play Jingle Bells. And pull on my right leg and play White Christmas. And come up and see me between the holidays. Jeez, God. Jeez, these people. So there's a lot of bullshit go around like this. And here's the thing, right? We have the report on foreign interference coming around as the Kirkland Lake bot army is engaging in foreign interference with regard to Chandra. It's happening right now.
He's scared shitless right now. I'm rereading the letter that we read yesterday. And some of the commentary, there's one guy here, I don't know who he is. His name is Clay Thompson. I follow him, he follows me. I did proud Canadian, proud Newfoundlander, proud Liberal, Pierre Poilievre is not fit to be Prime Minister. That's the extent we know of one another. We follow each other and that's it. But his commentary about the letter is, I've been a political junkie since the first Trudeau, and I have never witnessed anything so desperate and pathetic in my lifetime. It's one thing to say it on the campaign trail, but an official letter from the opposition, never before. This is just sad, not leadership. And let's review the letter again. He mentions the name of Justin Trudeau 11 times.
Yeah, and gets the date wrong.
There's 3 paragraphs, 3 short paragraphs. What is that? I didn't do the word count, but can't be more than 300, if that.
Probably. It's a short
11
letter.
times he mentions the truth. Can we say obsession? Does he have a big picture of Justin above his bed? Like, he sounds
probably on the ceiling.
He sounds like a fangirl reading Tiger Beat magazine from 1978 with a picture of Donny Osmond on the cover. It's weird. It's a
Have you seen Trudeau?
Obsession.
Did you see what he's saying? Did you hear his voice? Did you see what he said? Trudeau were? Oh my God, Trudeau was so divine. Oh my God, Trudeau. Except the opposite way.
Bizarre. I have never, and just the same as Clay Thompson, I've never in my life seen anything like this. Nope. And I think when I read the letter and then we read it in yesterday, I was so taken aback by it that I didn't have a proper response. But I do today. And my response is, that man is not fit to lead a Boy Scout troop. He is a desperate, obsessed, troubled individual who needs psychological help. That's
this whole thing the Conservatives are doing right now is downright sociopathic.
This is the thing. This is not healthy behavior. It's
showing
not.
up at somebody else's event.
This is not healthy.
A radical drug advocate and showing up so where they can see you.
Yeah, and then get mad when they actually confront you because they have the temerity to do so.
Trying to provoke a moment.
Yeah.
And then you get a moment, but you don't get the moment you want, right? Because you get somebody coming in friendly and they shake their hands and whatnot, and then try to spin it as the guy is a creep, like a sexual predator. Right? And this thing that I mentioned to you yesterday, Mr. Grizzly, that you didn't remember, but it was back in, let's see, what year was this? Because I found it. I went looking.
06 or something. I'm just
2004.
Oh,
2004. Yeah. June 18th, 2004, CBC. Tory release questions Martin's stand on porn. Remember when I told you that the Conservatives put out that Paul Martin supports child porn thing? This is the type of thing. This is not new behavior, calling people predators and whatnot, right?
No.
You've got the whole Trudeau grope thing. And what did he do at that academy that he got fired, right? And when he was on stage in Toronto, downtown, celebrating Bianca Andreescu with thousands of people there and cameras rolling. Maybe his wife was there too. Apparently, he was too friendly and handsy with her. With cameras rolling, right? This is the thing that the Conservatives are doing too, that Nathan Erskine Smith is not only a predator, but such a predator who can't control himself that he will do it while cameras are rolling in public at a press event.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about you, but most predators I've heard of tend to do their things in the shadows.
In the dark. Yes.
Not on live TV.
Yeah, they reach so hard. The mental gymnastics.
This is how stupid they think you are. Stop voting for people who treat you like you're stupid. This June 18th, 2024. The Conservatives retracted a news release issued Friday with the headline reading, Paul Martin supports child pornography, and changed it to, how tough is Paul Martin on child pornography? Oh, gee, what a change. How tough? He's not tough. Why? Because he probably supports it. Gee, it's the same thing. You just changed the title. Come on. The release with states, quote, Martin says he's against child pornography, but his voting record proves otherwise, was sent out to media at 1540 Eastern Daylight Time and recalled an hour later. Liberal leader Paul Martin responded to the release saying, this is a personal attack. I'm a father and a husband. This crossed the line, and he should apologize. Conservative leader Stephen Harper admitted the language of the headline may have been somewhat strong, but he didn't backtrack on his message. So when you put out a press release that says does someone support child porn? And then, oh my God, it got a little hot and you change the title, but you come back and you say, but I don't backtrack on my message. You're still saying he supports child porn.
Yeah. That's exactly what you're doing.
But you're just proving that you're too chicken to stand by your words the first time. Because can't take the heat.
All of them are fucking cowards. Every last
Stephen,
one. How does a spineless party, how are they able to stand on 2 feet when they were literally spineless?
Quote, what's in bad taste is the Liberal Party's record on child pornography, Harper told reporters. I will attack them on it, and if they want to fight the rest of the election on it, good luck to them. Media backlash against the headline pushed the Conservatives to change the headline, party spokesperson Rhonda Walker told CBC, but the body of the release remained the same. Another Conservative news release titled, quote, the NDP caucus supports child pornography, accuses 11 members of voting against prohibiting the creation of or use of child pornography. And right now, which is the party that is against the Online Harms Act? Yeah, because they care about child pornography so much.
Yeah.
Right? Again, they only care about children who are victims of this type of thing if they can use it to bash the Liberals over the head, but they don't actually care about the kids who are the victims.
Just like we talked about yesterday, and just like Nathaniel Erskine-Smith talked about in the video we showed yesterday at the end of the show, where he's using people in encampments in Kelowna as a cudgel, a political pawn. Like, these are not good people.
These are not good people.
And
they're misery tourists.
And remember, folks, we say this constantly. We want to see a strong, healthy, progressive conservative party in this country. Progressive.
Please. Jack Layton, it's ridiculous. I ask everyone to remain calm. We should work together to protect children in this country and everywhere. When you have something this horrific and tragic, people need to pull together. Political parties need to pull together. Hours earlier, NDP leader Jack Layton had suggested he could work with a conservative minority government. These attacks follow a public outcry on Thursday over the issue of child porn in Canada. A wave of disgust was triggered by the news that the killer of 10-year-old Toronto girl Holly Jones had admitted his child sex fantasies had been fueled by the regular consumption of internet child porn. So that's how the subject came about. So this is 2004.
Mm-hmm.
And we are 21 years later, and they have not evolved a bit.
No. If anything, they've devolved.
It's been 25 years of accusing people of being pedophiles, supporting child porn, and being predators.
Oh, and let's add one more to that. I don't know if you're aware of this. I'm trying to find the clip. I have a screen cap of it. It says, oof, just saw this. Pierre Poilievre on Anthony Housefather and the Liberals. You vote for Anthony Housefather. You vote for Anthony Housefather, then you get the Hamas wing of the Liberal Party. That's what you go to get. They go together.
Housefather's Jewish.
I know. This is Pierre Poilievre. He's Jewish.
Anthony Housefather is the one guy within the Liberal Party who is ringing the alarm about making the donation to Leith Maroof, or whatever his name is, that the Conservatives, especially Laurie Goldstein of The Sun, wrote about that for like almost a full month every day.
I know.
And then still works for The Sun after they published that cartoon.
Yeah.
With Zelensky picking. So again, they only care about Jewish people if they can use them as a cudgel to bash someone over the head. They don't care about anybody. They don't care about anybody. And Melissa Landsman is the first one because she still works for that guy. Pierre Poilievre did not denounce that. She still gives interviews. She still gets covered by the Sun. She was not allowed to participate in Hanukkah lighting ceremonies in order to stay in the house to do Pierre's dirty work for him while he went to a fundraiser. On the same day, he voted against a Holocaust museum and a Jewish community center, but she's still right there, right by his side, right?
Yeah.
But she cares about Jews. Yeah, okay, sure. So this is the people that we're dealing with.
Not
right?
good people.
And here's the other thing that we were talking about, right? Because the whole reason for this press conference by Melissa Landsman in the first place was one, to accuse Nate of being a radical drug advocate, which is silly. But number two, to suggest that, why hasn't Carney released his platform yet?
He's not the
right?
leader.
He's not the
leader.
I know that, but like, why is it? And they're saying, well, you should still be releasing some stuff. And it's like, and as we explained to you on the show, if you're running for the leadership of the Liberal Party, your constituency is the membership of the Liberal Party, not the entire population of Canada, and especially not the members of the Conservative Party of Canada. So you could run on a platform as leader of the Liberal Party, but all the things that you're going to do to help build the grassroots of the party and nothing else, no public policy whatsoever, and you would be fine. Meanwhile, the Conservatives, as we showed you yesterday in December 2023, were asked about their stuff, and since then there's been nothing. There has not been one white paper. There's not been one policy paper since December 2023 from this party. Okay, people going, well, yeah, platforms are put out once the election starts. Everybody knows that. Oh, really? Mike Harris? The Common Sense Revolution, he put out his platform like a full year before, I think it was, wasn't it? Didn't he? So, yes, most people, but there's no law, there's no rule that says the platform has to be, that you have to wait till the election to put a platform. It's been done before. And if you're not going to do a platform, how about a series of white papers? Or something. Anything that shows that you've thought about anything for more than 3 minutes. Any type of paper, to think something that we read, discourse, what your thoughts are, rather than a 10-minute video. Or just, where's been your talk of policy? He's been leader for pretty much 2 years. Where's your talk of policy? There should be a whole bunch of policy papers out there. We should have a very good idea of what it is that you plan for us on housing and education and health and military spending and all that kind of stuff. But no, you guys want to give us, 27 days to figure it all out. You've had 2 years, but you want to give us 27 days, right? Because all of us here are supposed to be able to put the scrutiny to your entire political platform in 27 days.
I have the clip. This was from last week, apparently. I don't know where it was, but this is from last week. He actually said those words. This is what he said. Watch.
He can support an anti-Israel government, but he's not part of that government, and he's really a nice guy in the neighborhood. Nonsense. It's all nonsense. Right. He can't have his cake and eat it too. You vote for Anthony Housefather, then you get the Hamas wing of the Liberal Party. That's what you get. They go together. They're a package deal. The good news is there is no Hamas wing in the Conservative Party. They know they're not welcome.
So
I'm reading this in two ways. Number one, that right there is anti-Semitism.
Oh yeah.
Pierre Poilievre is a Jew hater. I'm sorry, but right there is anti-Semitism. And two, because when Pierre Poilievre says there's no room for Hamas wing in our party, there's no room for a Hamas wing in any party. Okay? What he's saying is he's telling the 1.8 million Muslims in Canada, I don't fucking want your vote. And there are Muslims in his party.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And there are Jewish people in his party, and both of them should be walking away. The first person out that door after hearing that should have been Melissa Landsman.
But no, she wants power and influence, so she will not do that. She'll just sit there and accept it.
And remember, Melissa Landsman, remember, got really, really upset when someone suggested that the Conservative Party might support Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
And she got up in the house and said, oh, I'm Jewish. How could you say that about me? And here's her leader talking about another Jewish person. He brings in the Hamas wing.
Yeah.
So apparently, if you're conservative, it's terrible to say if you're Jewish, because you could possibly support some Nazi ideology, but it's not inappropriate to say if you're Jewish, you support this perverted, twisted take, what they call, this faction of people call Islam. That is not Islam.
No,
because if you ever met an actual Muslim person and talked about Islam, this is not it. But this perversion of Islam. It's okay to say a Jewish person is perfectly okay with that. That person is that. Housefather is the Hamas wing. Or brings in or rushes in or represents or whatever it is. That apparently, though, is not a line too far. Really, for Melissa Landsman.
She
paragon of virtue and consistency.
Is convenient when it's convenient to trot out her Judaism or her lesbianism, she does. Otherwise, she just keeps it in the dark and looks the other way.
Said, all other identities, when you are a Conservative Party of Canada MP, must be secondary and subsumed into the identity as Conservative, even your identity as a Canadian.
Correct. That is absolutely correct. And we've been saying this for a few years now.
Before you are Black, before you are Jewish, before you are gay, before you are Canadian, you are Conservative.
Yeah. Oh, and in case you hadn't seen this one, sir, from Ruby Dalla, maybe we should give her a grammar lesson because
yes,
Ruby Dalla will deport every illegal immigrant living in Canada as Prime Minister. How many illegal immigrants living here are Prime Minister? Apparently, she's going to deport them all. All the illegal immigrants living as Prime Minister in Canada, she's going to deport them all, apparently.
Proper use of...
Exactly how many immigrants, legal or otherwise, are living in Canada as Prime Minister?
Proper use of clauses prevents homelessness.
Yes.
Ruby. Jeez. So, and speaking of this, somebody else sent me something the other day about, not revealing your platform too early. None other than former Prime Minister, thankfully, Stephen Harper. Published March 22, 2023. Not even a year ago. Oh, sorry, not even a year. Sorry. So my math is wrong. Sorry, I'm still thinking 2024. A little over a year ago. Stephen Harper says Pierre Poilievre should save his policy platform for federal election. Former Conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper says current party leader Pierre Poilievre should not be putting out too many policy prescriptions now, but rather holding on to those ideas for the next federal election. That's in March 2023, with the federal election predicted for October 2025. So he's saying, hey, for the next 2 years and 6 months, just fill the air with something. But nothing about what you plan to do for the people. You're a political party. Do not talk about your plans until 27 days before people vote on them, or 36 days, or 32, or however. You got 2.5 years.
No, don't say anything. Don't say anything.
Now, for what reason would you not want people talking about your plans for 2 full years before people get to vote on them? Maybe because the plan sucks? Maybe because the plan is not in their interest? Because if it was a really good plan, you'd be talking it up, right? You'd be talking it up so much that by the time the 2.5 years are there, everybody's convinced that this is a really good plan and they're all voting for you, right?
They've got nothing.
I mean, it's like you got the time. You got 2.5 years to make your case. But no, keep it under wraps. Hide it. Don't tell the people what it is they're going to vote on until they don't have enough time to actually look it up. Shh. Does that sound like a party that wants to do right by you? Party that doesn't want to tell you what it is they got planned for you, and once they do, don't want to give you enough time to actually look it up and react to it? Really? That's a party that's got your best interest at heart? That's a party that's willing to serve you? That's a party that's willing to do the best for Canada?
Well, and let's go back to Ruby Dalla for a second. Utterly despicable for a daughter of immigrants to whip up anti-immigrant hysteria. I've lived in Peel for 35 years, where Ruby was MP. Never saw her once at any community event. Not once. Last I heard of, she was hanging out with corrupt leaders at kabaddi tournaments in India.
Oh, really? Okay.
She wants to kick out illegal immigrants.
Yes. So now, yes, exactly. Well, I mean, we know that she's not a big fan of immigrants, given how she allegedly treated those who worked for her.
Yeah. She saw them as beneath her. And remember, Ruby was born in India.
Mm-hmm.
She's an immigrant herself. She came here as a child with her parents, but she is an immigrant. So what's with the hate on? I don't understand it. They're illegal and they're taking jobs. I go, oh, really? They're taking jobs. Which jobs are they taking away from people like me? Please share with me. Share one fucking example.
But you had no problem hiring them, not paying them very well, and holding their passports, allegedly.
Yeah. Bullshit. It's
and
just
getting them
more
to
bullshit.
wash your car and pick up your dry cleaning rather than doing nanny services. Right? Ruby, allegedly. So there's something going on here, because as we're talking about foreign interference, there have been 3 candidates. There have been 3 candidates. We've had Chandra, who appeared out of nowhere and then stuck his foot in his mouth. And then suddenly 3 days or 2 days before the nomination period closes up, or the self-registration or whatever, self-declaration period closes up, all of a sudden, Ruby Dalla appears. Haven't heard a word from her since she left in 2015. Hadn't heard a word of her about being interested in this at all. And then like 2-3 days, boop, here I am. And in that mix, there was also another person who we talked about like for a quarter of a day. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but was a guy that was saying that they were planning to, there we go, Michael Clark, his name is, who's a pro-life candidate.
Oh, okay.
Who clearly didn't get his papers in because we haven't talked about him since. But on January 20th, 2025, for one day, Campaign Life Coalition make the Liberal Party pro-life again. The Liberal Party once boasted a strong contingent of pro-life MPs such as Dan McTeague, Paul Sabo, and Tom Wappel. Yeah, and then the current Prime Minister came in and said, yeah, if you want to sit at my table. It's like, whatever you believe in your regular life while you're sitting as an MP, you are pro-choice. Are we clear? And everybody was. And the Conservatives have a problem like that. So we had this guy named Michael Clark, who I have no idea who he is. Never heard of his name. Oh, Michael Clark, a well-known Christian community organizer and businessman says Liberals have veered too far left under Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. So he was going to enter. So we have a pro-life candidate supported by the Campaign Life Coalition. We have Chandra, who took a little visit to India in 2023 to have a meeting with Modi that had nothing to do with government business.
Mm-hmm.
And we got Ruby Dalla, who had to leave her critic position in 2015 because she was allegedly abusive to people who were here on work visas, who vanished, and apparently has been showing up at kabaddi matches in India and going to the U.S. inauguration before she even announced that she was going to be a candidate in this race to get pictures with Rick Scott and Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz, Rick Scott, Skeletor, and hey, I don't care if you're freezing, I'm off to Cancun.
Yeah, it's vacation time.
Dude.
Look, I know Ted
So
Cruz.
do you think that there's something going on elsewhere? Do you
We're
think
not
that there's
taking
some
it back.
interference in this leadership race, Mr. Grizzly? Because we have Mr. Chandra, and oops, he blew up. So let's throw in another candidate that seems to be from that thing. And why? Hey, let's muse about having a pro-life candidate in there too.
Yeah.
Do you think that somebody's trying to foreign interfere with this race?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, it's not even, they're not even trying to hide it right now. It's so blatantly obvious.
And I mean, I'm sorry, but it's like Chandra, and everybody's, oh my God, he's so good. And then he blows up, and all of a sudden there's another one that just happens to slide in 2 days before.
It's the Hydra, right? Cut off
Come
one,
on.
another one grows in its place.
Come on. And I guess, and I don't know. I mean, Ruby Dalla is saying, and I'm seeing the report saying that these 6 have been confirmed. So I know that there's 10 days the party has. So I don't know if there's a letter coming, but I sure as hell hope that there's a letter coming from the Liberal Party of Canada that says, I'm sorry, Ruby, but no. No. So we just dismissed a guy, and your first move was to open up a video and say, hey, guy that was just dismissed, guy that was all the people that say that you're fans of the guy that was just deemed unfit to run for the liberal leadership, come to me, my children. Really? Mm-hmm. And you don't think that's going to put a spotlight on you to say, hey, why do you want all the people that are going to vote for the guy that was unfit? Why do you want their support all of a sudden? Something doesn't smell right. Something does not smell right, and I hope that there's something that comes within the next 8 days or so. That's sorry, we actually had some time to really look at it, and you were provisionally accepted, but we have decided no. Just like there's this guy out there, you've probably seen it because it's this ad. I guess it's being promoted as an ad. Mm-hmm. That's it. It's like, apparently I'm a traitor now. He writes like this, and then there's this video of him. So this guy goes by David Whitehead at Truth Warrior Dad, has a blue check mark because everybody's saying, no, I keep on seeing his thing as an ad now. Well, he goes, apparently I'm a traitor now. Well, before that, he posted something that started with, Dear Mr. President, real Donald Trump, I am writing you from the once great state of Canada as a citizen under duress. You are the only person that I believe will actually listen and hear my plea, blah, 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 blah. Gee, maybe that's why people are calling you a traitor, dumbass.
You think?
Apparently now you're no, you are. You are, Blanche. You are in the traitor chair.
So,
Dear Mr. President, please hear my plea. From the once great state of Canada. You're a fucking traitor.
Oh, yeah, totally. Completely.
You're a tucking freighter. Okay? It's like, don't be offended. Apparently, I'm treated. You don't want to be a traitor. How about not writing pleas to the leader of another nation? Publicly. Dumbass. I mean, this is what we're dealing with. This is all foreign interference.
Completely. And let's give a basic civics lesson for a minute or two here so that people can understand something. If you signed up yesterday for a Liberal Party membership, yesterday you would have been given the opportunity for most likely the very first time in your life to vote directly for the Prime Minister. Because the next Liberal leader will be the Prime Minister. So technically, that is a vote for PM. Because you have to remember, unless you live in the riding of the leader of the party, you cannot vote in a prime minister.
Yeah,
you vote,
but
we have 338 elections. We elect a parliament, not a prime minister. This is a basic civics lesson that people need to understand.
But I want to put a caveat in there. Because you say you're voting. Technically, yes, this is a vagary of the system because the system allows for continuity of government. But what you are voting here, specifically, they are voting for the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada. Nobody ever, under any circumstance whatsoever, no matter all the crazy combinations that can happen in Parliament, nobody ever votes for Prime Minister.
No, you vote for your member of Parliament. And unless you live in their riding. And so again, you're still not electing the Prime Minister. You're electing a member of Parliament.
So that's what I'm saying. So if Mark Carney, so right now you're voting for Liberal leadership. If Mark Carney wins, when he goes in a riding, you're voting for the member of that riding. Like this. Yes. We never, ever vote for Prime Minister. No. Prime Minister is always determined by political convention.
And in this unique circumstance, because the Prime Minister is stepping down, the next Liberal leader will assume the position of Prime Minister. This is literally one of the only times in your life you had the opportunity.
But it's not guaranteed, right? Like there's no rule that says he could be elected leader of the Liberal Party and they could still name someone else Prime Minister if they want.
That's true.
Right?
It's
It's
absolutely
not
true.
automatic.
Carol's asking a question here that I don't have an answer to. Maybe you do. He says, have we ever had a PM without a seat?
Yes.
We have? Okay.
John Turner.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Most recently.
Thank you.
Most recently, John Turner. And there's been at least two others that I can. That I looked it up the other day. There's two others. There's some of them that are way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I think even even back to the day of John A. MacDonald. Around that time, there was stuff like that going on, right way back. So this is not new.
Mm-hmm.
We've been here before.
Yes.
Actually, I think I might be able to find that because I did tweet about that. But none of this is new. Like, it hasn't happened in a while,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, I mean, John Turner. But I mean, it doesn't happen all that often.
It's pretty
Let's
rare.
put it that way. It's pretty rare. But it's not new. And that's why I keep on saying when I'm doing the civics part about the Westminster system.
Yes.
Because there is a process for everything. Everything. We are never left leaderless.
No,
we are never left powerless. We are never left
saying we don't have a leader right now. Yes, we do.
We
still
always
have the
have a
Prime
leader.
Minister.
That's what I'm saying.
Until he steps down and then Carney steps in, or whomever the next Liberal leader is, because we don't know that it's going to be Mark Carney. We don't know who it's going to be. But let's say it's Mark Carney. Mark Carney will assume the title of Prime Minister once the resignation is official and accepted by the Governor General. But we're never without a leader. He's still very much the Prime Minister until March 24th, when the House, or no, when is the
27th, I believe it comes back.
The leadership convention, though?
Oh, the 9th.
The 9th.
Yes.
But he doesn't step down that day. They have to wait till the House is sitting again before he can officially resign, if memory serves. I could be incorrect.
No, I don't think so. No, I think you just go to the Governor General.
Oh, okay. So
if
when
I'm
the
not
House goes
mistaken,
back, Mark Carney theoretically could be in a position of Prime Minister. Okay.
Yep, exactly.
I don't know absolutely everything about civics. There's some fine lines within the Westminster system that I'm a little gray on.
Yeah. So here I'm saying, like, this is from Wikipedia here. While there is no legal requirement here's another one that will blow a lot of people's mind. While there is no legal requirement for the Prime Minister to be an MP.
Yeah,
that'll blow my. That's something about the Westminster parliamentary system that a lot of people probably don't know. While there is no legal requirement for the Prime Minister to be an MP for practical and political reasons, the Prime Minister is expected to win a seat very promptly. However, in rare circumstances, individuals who are not sitting members of the House of Commons have been appointed to the position of Prime Minister. Two former Prime Ministers, John Joseph Caldwell Abbott and Mackenzie Bowell, served in the 1890s while members of the Senate. Both in their roles as government leader in the Senate succeeded prime ministers who had died in office: John A. Macdonald in 1891 and John Sparrow, David Thompson in 1894. So the Westminster parliamentary system even has a process if someone dies.
Yeah,
okay,
you're never leaderless ever.
Prime ministers who are not MPs upon their appointment or who lose their seats while in office, which can also happen, have since been expected to seek election for the House of Commons as soon as possible. For example, William Lyon Mackenzie King, after losing his seat in the 1925 federal election and again in the 1945 federal election, despite his party being elected government both times. What about that situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you get the most seats, but the leader of the party doesn't win theirs. There's a process for that too. Despite his party being elected government both times, briefly governed without a seat in the House of Commons on both occasions before winning a by-election a few weeks later. Similarly, John Turner replaced Pierre Trudeau as leader of the Liberal Party in 1984 and subsequently was appointed Prime Minister while not holding a seat in the House of Commons. Turner won a riding in the next election, but the Liberal Party was swept from power. It's happened in my lifetime.
Yes.
This is not new. None of this is new. Oh my God, they're breaking conventions. Oh my God, it's on that. No. Our system allows for it. Always has. And if you don't know that, you don't know Canada. And if you don't know Canada, you can't claim to love it. All these patriots are there. I love Canada. I love Canada. I love Canada. I've married Canada. I'm like, you've never met her. You've never even took her out for coffee. If you only love Canada when you win, you don't love Canada. And if Canada's only broken when you lose, you're broken. I don't make the rules. It's just the way it is. Continue. When a prime minister loses their seat in the legislature, or should a new prime minister be appointed without holding a seat, the typical process that follows is that a member of the governing political party will resign to allow the prime minister to run in a resulting by-election. A safe seat is usually chosen, while the Liberal and Conservative parties generally observed a practice of not running a candidate against another party's new leader in the by-election. The New Democratic Party and smaller political parties typically do not follow the same practice. However, if the governing party selects a new leader shortly before an election is due, and that new leader is not a member of the legislature, they will normally await the upcoming election before running for a seat in Parliament. That's what normally happens. So all these people are going, hey, listen, if you want Mark Carney to run in a by-election right away as soon as he wins, Conservatives and New Democrats, I'm sure Canadians will be fine with that because that delays the next federal election, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you really, really want that, if you start asking for that, asking for that will mean that you don't get a federal election now. Because what's the point of calling a by-election and then calling a federal election 2 days later?
Well, I'm trying to make sense of these polls. And I don't give a shit about. It's funny. Like, this is from Canada 338, I believe. Is that the 338 symbol in the bottom right-hand corner?
Yes.
Yeah, so Canada 338, 39% for the Conservatives, 32% for the Liberals, 7% margin. It was 20 points about a week ago. And then Main Street has the Liberals leading by 2%. So I make it make sense.
And there are other ones like this.
Yeah.
Listen, every pollster has their own methodology and how their ruling period. But what we are seeing is we are starting to see some movement in other ones. We're not seeing as sharp movement, but there's been a little bit of movement in Abacus. There's been a little bit of movement in Angus Reid. There's been a little bit of movement in Nanos. So there is some movement. It's not a 25-point movement like Ecos has seen, but it's not negligible, the movement that we're seeing. And of course, everything gets recorded differently in different places, depending and the sample dates and when you're out in the field and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's like, according to Angus Reid, they did a poll that said vote intentions with X as Liberal leader. So they actually put names in. Carney, CPC 43, LPC 29, NDP 13, Bloc 10, Greens 3. And with Freeland, CPC 44, LPC 24, NDP 17, Bloc 9, GPC 3. So in this one, the spread is 14 points between Carney and CPC, and the spread is 20 points between Freeland and the CPC. But that's about a 17-point swing for the Liberals in Angus Reid. It's a big swing.
Oh, yeah.
Abacus has 43 for the Conservatives and still 22 for the Liberals. The Abacus seems to be the slowest one to show stuff. But even that's a change for Abacus. Even that's like a 5-point swing for Abacus. So all of them are seeing some movement. They're seeing it in different ways. Again, how you sample, whatnot. But this is, how would I put it? The 23rd was the day to get your first papers in and your first payment in. Right? The race technically isn't on yet, officially. Right? It isn't on until all of them say, yes, you have all been approved, and here are the lists that you can start contacting. Then the race is really on. So you got this swing before the race is really on. In the space of 1 month. This race goes to March 9th. What do you think are the odds that swing could continue? Particularly if the Conservatives are doing things like Melissa Lantsman has been doing. And like Jenny Byrne has been doing. If that's all they got for the next few months, and every time Trump throws us a curveball, the leader has to go into hiding for 11 days before he figures out that he can't say anything. Things are not looking good for the Conservatives. I said it the other day. Pierre's screwed.
Completely.
And also, he still has not made a full-throated defense of Canada. February 1st is coming if Trump follows through on February 1st. Of course, there's also that executive order that says that nothing's happening until April, so who knows? But yeah, February 1st. He said nothing other than Canada will never be the 51st state. 2 days ago, I think he came out and said that, yeah, we should have dollar for dollar retaliatory tariffs, that everybody's going, oh my God, look at him, such leadership. Yeah. Great leadership, Pierre, coming out and saying that you support one-for-one retaliatory tariffs after everyone else did that last week. Carney, Freeland, they all supported, even the NDP. You were last out of the gate several days after everybody else were on the record. Oh yeah, me too. Ooh, such leadership. Wow, you're really going to stand up to Trump. Everybody else had to go first before you stated you agreed. You let everybody else go first because you were too afraid to take a position. You were too afraid to lead. You led from behind. It's literally a trail of elephants, and you're the one on the back of the pack, and you think you're the leader. Dude. Actually, I shouldn't say back of the pack, because the elephant in the back of the pack actually has a good rule. You're the before last one in the pack. The one in the back of the pack makes sure everyone stays together. You don't do that. You're tearing us apart.
I have a comment here from Anthony Housefather. He responded to Pierre Poilievre.
Ooh, let me get my name fall for this one.
Today on International Holocaust Remembrance Day, I was meeting with the Jewish community leadership and attending the Musée Holocaust commemoration. Sad to see politics has come to this, associating me with a terrorist organization I have condemned and fought against consistently. Like, where does Poilievre get off making an accusation like that?
True. Poilievre said that on the day of the 80th.
His cake and eat it too. He can support an anti-Israel government, but he's not part of that government, and he's really a nice guy in the neighborhood. Nonsense. It's all nonsense. Right. He can't have his cake and eat it too. You vote for Anthony Housefather.
It doesn't even make sense.
You need to send me that link, man. He said that on the day of the 80th commemoration of Auschwitz-Birkenau?
Apparently. I'm sending you the...
How is any Jewish person in Canada vote for this guy?
I don't know.
How can they believe he's on Israel?
Yeah,
he might be on Netanyahu's side, but he's definitely not on Israel or the Jewish people's side.
No, definitely not. I sent it to you via Twitter, so you have it now.
Oh my God. I totally forgot. I thought, well, actually not totally forgot. I just thought that video certainly wasn't from yesterday.
No, it wasn't from yesterday. It was from last week.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. No, it wasn't on the same day. Anthony Housefather was talking about yesterday, and yeah.
Okay. My God. Thank God they didn't do it. At least they had the decency not to do it on the same day.
Mm.
Or maybe they just didn't think of it doing it on the same day.
I don't know if you saw this or not, but Charlie Angus yesterday. Charlie Angus has no fucks left to give.
Yeah.
In the United States, families are being terrorized and targeted, and yet this shitbird grifter thinks she can win the leadership of the Liberal Party of Canada through such tactics. Ruby, I knew you back in the day. You had no moral compass then. Go back under your rock. Canada has moved on.
Holy shit, Charlie.
Charlie has no fucks left to give. None. Absolutely.
Damn.
And I watched him in an interview recently on The Agenda with Steve Paikin, and Steve confronted him over a comment he made about Pierre Poilievre on Remembrance Day.
Mm-hmm.
And he called him a shit disturber or an asshole or I can't remember exactly what it was, but they read it into the record on the agenda. And he goes, "Oh, is that what I wrote?" Yeah. He goes, "And do you have any?" No regrets. If that's what I wrote. That's what I meant at the time. Period. I'm not taking it back. I'm like, where's Charlie been all this time? That's the Charlie we want.
Yes. Right. What about it was like, yeah, I said it.
Yeah. He's burning everything
that was
down on
me.
the way out, and he doesn't give a shit. Well, you got to remember, folks, Charlie Angus was a punk rocker. He was in a punk band when he was younger, with Andrew Cash, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Cash had a successful solo career and
Yes,
then
he did.
became a member of Parliament. So Charlie is an old school punk rocker, so he doesn't give a shit. You want to know what punk rock is, for those of you who might be confused? Somebody asked that once of Billy
Idol?
Green Day. No, from Green Day.
Oh, Billy Joe.
Thank you. He asked him, "What's punk rock?" And Billy Joe walked up and kicked over a garbage can. He says, "That's punk rock." And the guy walked up and kicked a garbage can behind him. He says, "Am I punk rock now?" He says, "No, you're conformity."
Yep.
You're just conforming. Punk rock
You're
is doing the
to
different thing.
what I've told you punk rock is.
Yeah. Punk rock is doing the different thing.
Yes. If you want to be punk rock, find your punk and rock it out. Yep. Indeed. That's a good lesson. I like that. Yeah. All right.
I got to get a coffee. I'll be right back.
No worries. Yep, absolutely. So in other news, little things going on here. We are expecting the 6th rate cut of the Bank of Canada since they started cutting rates. Canada's annual inflation rate fell to 1.8% in December, largely on the back of federal government's temporary GST tax break. So that's part of the news here. But the economic forecast suggests that the Bank of Canada will lower its key policy rate by 0.25 percentage point tomorrow in light of recent inflation and jobs data, bringing it down to 3%. The 0.25 point cut would mark a slowdown from the central bank's 2 previous supersized cuts. It slashed its key rate by 0.5 percentage point in October and December as inflation hovered at or below its 2% target. Canada's annual inflation rate fell to 1.8% in December, largely on the back of the federal government's temporary GST tax break. With inflation data, we saw all the numbers coming down, so that's a positive sign, said Tu Nguyen, an economist at RSM Canada. We really don't expect inflation to go back up, and they are squarely in the 2% target right now, so it seems like the bank has enough room to have another cut. Now, Kits and Cubs, also, I'm going to warn you that after the GST tax cut ends on Valentine's Day, if the February, March numbers see a little bit of inflation go up because now we're paying the tax, don't start to panic and don't buy into the conservative panic. It just means that the GST is back on those things. Statistics Canada said last week that restaurant food purchases and alcohol bought from stores contributed to the most to the deceleration in the overall inflation reading. Ottawa introduced a temporary pause on taxes on those items in mid-December, along with other items including children's clothing and some toys. Without the tax break, the agency said the annual inflation rate would have risen up to 2.3%. While a higher than expected core inflation and recent GDP growth could justify a rate pause, the tariff threat from the U.S. should prompt a modest cut, said a report by Capital Economics' Thomas Ryan. U.S. President Donald Trump signaled last week that his threat of a universal 25% tariff on Canadian goods could become reality as soon as February 1st. Ryan said markets were pricing in a small chance of a hold, with the majority forecasting a 0.25 point cut. Quote, the elephant in the room is the newly elected president south of the border who has threatened again and again to slap a 25% tariff on all Canadian imports, said the economist, noting such a move would cause GDP to fall around 3% and trigger a recession. But as I mentioned, economist Trevor Toome mentioned that a drop in the economy of about 2 to 3% is what a typical recession would feel like. Now, if we were going into a recession already, let's say, and then we get this on top of that, then that makes what is supposed to be a typical recession feel deeper, right? So that's the thing I'm going to worry about. And should we have a change of government? Well, that's something that Pierre Poilievre would have to deal with.
Yes.
And he's not equipped. Again, Kits and Cubs. If we are going to go through a recession, the recent ones that we've had, the COVID recession and the 2008 crash, look how the conservatives got us out of one. Look how the liberals got us out of the other. Who do you want managing this crisis? The party that's going to put up a whole lot of economic action plan signs like this, and then cut the stimulus too early, thus provoking a second recession? Or against the advice of all the economists and all the bankers of the world? Stephen Harper was a trained economist, and he decided that we had gotten too much largesse, that we weren't deserving of more support. So he cut them, and then provoked a second recession. A mild one that only lasts a couple of months, but he provoked a second one. Or the person that got us through the worst economic crisis of the last, the worst ever, actually, because our economies are so much more intertwined now than they were back in the day of the Spanish flu.
Well, correct.
So the worst economic crisis that we've ever had in human history, and managed to engineer a soft landing and keep people whole.
Well, and
I know who I'm picking.
I just read something that apparently the government of Canada is developing a CERB-type plan or program, or pandemic-type plan or program to face off against 25% tariffs.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a headline I saw earlier. And let's see if I can find it. Ottawa planning pandemic-level relief for workers' businesses if Trump imposes tariffs.
Yeah, and you know that if conservatives get in power like this, the relief will only be for businesses.
Yes, and it will only be tax cuts.
Yes.
The rest of us will suffer.
Indeed. So we've got some economic stuff coming. So, and like I said, we're looking to see as well in the United States whether or not they do cut, but it seems that they will not cut at all. In other little bits of news that might be interesting to you, kids and cubs, the Greens are back in a co-leadership situation. Remember, the Greens, after Annamie Paul, changed their structure that they would have two co-leaders. Right. And Jonathan Pedneau, very, very decent-looking young man from the Quebec province of Quebec, I believe the Montreal region, had been selected, and it was Elizabeth May and him. But he had to leave for a while. And it seems that he is back. Human rights activist Jonathan Pedneau is rejoining the Green Party as co-leader alongside Elizabeth May. Pedneau had resigned the co-leadership last summer, citing personal reasons, but said the recent election of U.S. President Donald Trump motivated him to re-enter Canadian politics. Quote, the tragic and despicable election south of the border of a president that is creating a threat to our way of living and to our values meant I couldn't stand on the sidelines anymore, Pedneau told reporters on Monday. It's not a decision I take lightly, but the times call on all of us to really stand up for Canada. Pedneau and May were elected to the leadership in 2022 through changes to the party's constitution were needed to, though changes to the party's constitution were needed to allow for a co-leadership model, leaving May with the top job. When Pedneau resigned last July, the constitution had still not been amended, though the changes were approved by the membership last November. As such, Pedneau would officially be co-leader pending a vote of the membership to reinstate him, which he said will take place before the upcoming federal election. Membership is very supportive, said May. I don't want to presume what other members will decide, but because we're a grassroots Democratic Party, but they'll have the opportunity to support us as co-leaders. Pedneau does not have a seat in the House of Commons. In 2023, he contested a by-election in the Montreal area riding of Notre-Dame-de-Grâce-Westmount, where he placed fourth. This year's election will be the first since May has reassumed the party's leadership. In 2021, under Annamie Paul, the Greens secured 2.33% of the popular vote, the party's lowest level of support since 2000. Most public opinion firms suggest the Greens are currently polling around 4 to 5%. So Jonathan Pedneau is back, and I'm quite happy about that. Mm-hmm. Listen, the Greens do things differently. Hopefully this model will work for them. But he's not just some person that's there. He's a human rights activist with a very, very impressive track record and very accomplished in his own right. And by doing it this way, hopefully, when Elizabeth May does finally retire for good, the fact that they have seen them together and they will have had a chance to give this person some visibility will mean that the Greens don't collapse just because the leader is gone.
Right.
That the Greens remain. So this is a good way to ensure continuity, this method here. So I'm all for it. And good luck to you, sir. Good luck to you.
Indeed.
Another thing that's happening, Pierre Poilievre seems to have found his inner Mitch McConnell.
Oh?
Yes. Pierre Poilievre is very, very, very upset that the prime minister has decided to do something before he leaves. And Pierre is trying to frame this as being somehow outrageous or unconstitutional or whatever. But it seems that the prime minister has announced that before he leaves, he will be filling the rest of the Senate seats that are
I
vacant.
did hear that. Yes, I did
Yes.
hear that.
Now, this is something that Stephen Harper did not do on the way out. There were about 30-something Senate seats, and nobody understood. I mean, I was not talking about it too much because I didn't want to put the idea in anybody's head. But he left without filling them, which was great, which allowed Trudeau to fill the seats. And Trudeau is going to fill the rest of the seats. There are 10 that remain to be filled, and he has decided that he was going to do that. Now it seems that Pierre Poilievre is out there all over internet saying something like Mitch McConnell said when there was a seat on the Supreme Court that opened up within a year of President Obama's mandate. Says, well, he's a lame duck and he shouldn't be appointing Supreme Court justices. There's an election coming up and the American people should have a right to vote on that. So he's basically taken that line. Because Pierre, who's never had an original idea in his head, has now decided that borrowing a patron resting Mitch face, is who voted against Pete Hegseth, by the way, in the Senate as
he did.
As a Secretary of Defense. Yeah, it was Murkowski, Collins, and McConnell. So he's planning to be a thorn in Trump's side, clearly. But yeah, all of a sudden you got Pierre inventing new rules.
No,
that somehow we should wait until after the next election before appointing these senators. That there's some type of obligation that we do that. No, Boo Boo Kitty.
There's none.
It's again, I know you really want us to be the United States.
It's not going to happen.
But we're not. We're just not. So, the prime minister gets to name. This is Pierre Poilievre's thing. Lame duck Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, again,
Not a thing.
Pierre Poilievre. We don't have lame ducks in Canada. That's wrong country, asshole.
He wants to be an American so bad.
Wrong damn country. Lame duck PM Justin Trudeau is planning to stack the Senate with his personal friends and liberal insiders days before he gets kicked out. No new appointments should happen until Canadians decide who gets to run the country in a general election. Sorry, Mitch McConnell. But your unhelpful suggestion has been denied. Boom. This guy. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is planning a final wave of appointments to fill the 10 vacancies in the Senate before he retires in March, Radio-Canada has learned. This is from Danielle Leblanc. The move would allow him to leave a mark on Parliament for years to come, as these unelected Senate legislators will be able to sit until the age of 75. A source familiar with the matter says that this selection process for the future senators is already underway and should be completed before his departure. After proroguing Parliament earlier this month, Trudeau announced that he will leave power after the Liberal Party chooses a new leader on March 9th. In a written response to the Prime Minister's office, the Prime Minister's office confirmed that the advisory board for the Senate appointments is at work to propose candidates for all vacancies. Quote, prorogation did not affect the ability of the Governor General to make appointments to the Senate based on the advice of the Prime Minister, said PMO spokesman Simon Lafortune. The Prime Minister takes his responsibility to appoint senators seriously and will do so as long as he remains in office. Now, I would like to point out here this quote. Prorogation did not affect the ability of the Governor General to make appointments to the Senate based on the advice of the Prime Minister. And you have Pierre Poilievre claiming that it's because he doesn't know his civics. Again, or he's pretending that he doesn't know them, that it is the Prime Minister who will be making the appointments. And the Prime Minister shouldn't, because he's going to be out of office soon. But it's the Governor General, and she's not going to be out of office soon, Pierre. So you literally have no point yet again. You want to run a country you do not know, or if you do know, you intentionally misrepresent to the people voting for you. Either way, both make you unfit for office.
Here's
Lying to the people about what the Constitution allows should be a crime.
It should be, absolutely.
As an elected official.
I have a question for you, sir, and tell me your thoughts on this. Why hasn't Pierre Poilievre come out to attack Ruby Dalla?
Mm-hmm.
It looks like the Kirkland Lake bottom is has been reignited. It says whoever John J. McFarland at Pink Mist 0. Somebody want to check that out on the Twitter.
That's the other
I
one.
was on the subway today when I overheard two teenagers discussing the Liberal leadership race. I really like Ruby Dalla. She's so much more relatable than Mark Carney, said one of them. Then all of their friends applauded. It's a telling sign. I know who I'm voting for. Of all the things that never happened, that never happened the most.
Kids don't applaud on buses.
Well, no, it was on the subway.
On the subway.
Yes, they applauded. They applauded that they're going to vote for Ruby Dalla because she's more related, and they're teenagers. So,
no. If there's a bunch of Swifties getting on the subway, there'd be some applause. But no, because Ruby Dalla is so much more relatable. How would you know?
Did you hear of her?
She's been nowhere. She's been nowhere since. How would you know that? How would teenagers know that?
How is she relatable when she's the one who keeps saying, I'm going to kick out all the illegal immigrants, when most teenagers are going like, no, we need to give people safe harbor.
They're my friends.
She's not relatable
I go to school with them. She's not. She has no public profile.
None. Not politically, anyway.
Not politically, business-wise, like in the hotel industry or whatever. Like, but she's not. I like her. She's so much. You
don't know who she is. It's a lie. It's bullshit. It's bullshit.
Again, I'm a political junkie, and I had no idea what happened to her after she left until she popped back up. She left in 2015. I have no idea what happened to her over the last 10 years at all. Sarah again was like, oh, God, what happened to you? That was my reaction. There is no kid in Canada. There's nobody in Canada who thinks that she's much more relatable based on her public profile in the last 10 years. She's been nowhere.
Well, and the Conservative Party is now rudderless because with Justin Trudeau stepping down, who's going to be their bitch boy? Who are they going to have to pick on? Like, remember when I talked about this earlier in the show? Look at this. 11 times he mentioned Trudeau's name. 11 times.
Every single red box, if you're watching on the screen here, because the letters are small, kids and cubs, that's a mention of Trudeau.
Yeah.
All
11 times.
Except for the one on the top of the date, which was the thing that was wrong like this. Yeah. But that's it. Except for that red box, all those red boxes are the times he mentioned Trudeau. 11
times. And this is not a long letter. It's not even a full page.
No.
Like the letterhead at the top and bottom take up half of the fucking thing.
Yes. And then the signature block and the date block take about another quarter.
Yeah. And remember the signature block. Loyal opposition and Canada's common sense conservatives. That's not an official title.
No.
It's not an official title. So shouldn't he be reprimanded for that?
He should.
Because that's official letterhead.
And he's campaigning by putting common sense conservatives on it. With it. An official letterhead should not be used for campaigning. That's a big ethical no-no.
Well,
and private letterhead should not be used for personal business, right? We see that in ethics a lot like this. I'm writing about a personal thing, but I'm putting it on my letterhead. So it's like, yeah, it's a personal thing, but it's on my letterhead. So wink, wink, nudge, nudge, right? You know where this is coming from. Oh, no, I didn't intend it. I made a mistake putting it on the yeah, sure. Because when I'm asking for something for me personally, I sign my emails, Douglas Connors, Director of Politics, Crier Media.
Not once have I ever seen that. Not once. And we
really?
Exchange a lot of emails.
I do it when I'm asking people for interviews. I'm not just some slob. I'm actually the Director of Politics for a media network. Please respond. Because I'm asking in a professional capacity with this show. So, for example, when I invite Senator Patrick Brazeau and I write a letter, I say Douglas Connors, Director of Politics.
Correct.
When I write a letter to Patrick Brazeau and say, hey, would you like to help with the mental health walk? It's signed Douglas. Just Douglas. Because I'm not writing in my capacity of anything I do with Crier Media. It's a separate thing.
Yes.
We use our show to promote it, but it's a separate thing. It's very easy to keep things in the boxes. Pierre seems to have an issue with that. He likes mixing boxes. He likes intermingling things that are in boxes. Better to conflate things, my child. Ugh. So, yes, the Prime Minister. And this is one the Senate as well. When you're going to be looking at the Prime Minister's legacy, this is one of the ways that he's going to be transformative. Because for 10 years, the Conservatives promised us that they were going to reform the Senate, make it Triple E, and raised millions and millions, fleeced millions and millions and millions of dollars of people on that, because they knew constitutionally there was absolutely no fucking way they could make that happen. But they said nothing for 10 years until the Supreme Court finally said you can't. And then suddenly they stopped grifting on that. But nobody sued them for 10 years of theft. And most of the theft came from grandma and grandpa. By the way, because back then, Conservatives were supported most fervently by seniors. Just not the case anymore.
Absolutely not the case.
Maybe changing the retirement age had something to do with that.
Well, that's a contributing factor, along with the fact that many people come to the realization that they didn't leave the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party left them.
Yep.
Because everybody I know who calls themselves a conservative also says they believe in progressive policies. I have these conversations regularly with seniors, mind you, seniors who say, we believe in giving a hand up, not a handout. That's a progressive policy. Help those that need to be helped. They fully acknowledge that there is a percentage of the population that cannot be employed ever at any point in time. Do you know what that percentage is?
Nope.
1%.
That's
1% of the population cannot work, period.
So the other 1%.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
okay.
other 1%. And we're not doing enough to help them. And the thing is, I've actually talked to conservatives, said, I would think it was higher, like 5. I go, no, it's only 1. He goes, well, I don't have a problem with helping 5% of the population. And I've had conversations where they go, UBI, let's institute a UBI so that people who can work part-time can help contribute to society will still have enough money to survive. Because right now the system is, if you are on ODSP and you pull in $1, $1 fucking dollar, they cut you off. If you have a roommate who's working, they cut you off. We have a system that is designed to push people down and keep them down. This is wrong on every possible moral level. It's wrong on every, and here's the magic word, Christian level. What did Jesus say? Help the poor, help the stranger, welcome the stranger into your home. So again, for the religious zealots out there, remember that.
And remember, Sodom and Gomorrah was not taken down because of what you think it is. When they're talking about wickedness, they're talking about lack of hospitality.
Yes.
And all the ways that manifested itself, including the thing that they twist, that they say that Sodom and Gomorrah is all about. But it was all the wickedness. And the wickedness was in how you treated people who needed help, who needed hospitality. It's like, I haven't read the full book cover to cover, and I know that. You have no excuse.
That's Sausage Sandwich nailed it right here. That's the thing. People are more worried about one person abusing the system rather than helping the ones who need it.
Yep. Indeed.
And if you are a realist, if you live in the real world, you know that the system is going to be abused no matter what safeguards, guardrails, checkpoints, no matter what you put in. There are always people who are going to cheat the system, period. Accept that. People shoplift, people steal. It's called shrinkage. You build it into your budget, your operating costs, because you know it's going to happen. We could prevent all this if we were able to, provide for people's basic needs like food and shelter and heat and air conditioning, because those two things are needed in this country at different times of the year. You die without air conditioning in the summer, as evidenced by what's happened in British Columbia over the last few years when they've been getting massive heat waves. And you freeze to death in the winter if you don't have heat. So we need heat, food, shelter. If we can provide those basic needs, the rest is gravy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm just looking at some chat comments like this, and there's a person in there who our kids are having fun with, who's not particularly bright, who's making some comments about the CPC and loves to say "cry more," except they're the only one who's whining.
We're not crying.
So I'm not exactly sure, but Kit Saucy's doing a good job there on that.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Thank you very much.
I leave that up to her.
Oh yeah, she's got this.
Yeah,
she's got this. We're good. And thank you, Kit Saucy, for this valuable service as well.
Indeed.
Kit Saucy, Kirkland laid capots.
Well,
all right.
Let's remember there are going to people come in and have the hate on it, and that's fine. Call me a liberal cuck all you want. I don't belong to any party. I never have and never will.
We get paid whatever you call us. Just make sure you get our name right.
Just continue to engage, watch the show, and share it with all your friends. Tell them to come on and hate watch us every day, because the more people who view, the more money we can earn.
Mm-hmm. We have another kit in here called Victory Renfrew, new name for us. So welcome. Makes comment. Lanceman is a Russian Jew. I'm really sorry, but they are very different people than many other Jewish people. Roman Baber is also a Russian Jew. His family left when he was 15. Roman Baber, there's a name we haven't heard of. He was everywhere for a while, and then he just kind of vanished. Interesting.
I have to address this from Dan. You're correct, Dan. You don't get cut off ODSP when you make $1, but they do cut back on your ODSP payment.
Yes.
You don't get the full amount. They clot back.
They clot back right from the first $1. You're not even allowed to make a certain amount before.
Right. It's if you make $1, they take $1 off. They don't cut you off, but they make $1. I misspoke. You are correct, sir. Thank you for correcting that.
And as Mr. Jim sorry.
I was going to say, they punish you for trying to get ahead.
Yeah.
The system is designed to keep you down.
Yep. And as Mr. Jim often points out in the chat, when it comes to, if you're disabled and on ODSP, at least, when it comes to, there's no such thing as equal marriage.
Yes.
Because your marriage is treated differently.
Yes, on ODSP, you're absolutely correct. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if you're gay or straight. The marriage is not treated equally. If
apparently, if you're disabled, marriage is a special status for you.
Yes.
You're entitled to less than everybody else if you get married. Not sure why nobody's offered to change that. That seems like a layup. God, jeez. All right, and other stuff, because I told you there's a lot going on today here. So Pedno is rejoined. Trudeau's gonna do what he's allowed to do, fill Senate seats. Conservatives are going to call it staggering the Senate, try to claim it's somehow unconstitutional or there's something wrong or illegal or immoral or fattening with it. No. Here's the thing, again, about that you need to understand if we're talking civics, kits and cubs, is that there was somebody here, what's his name? Claude Carignan, I believe, another one of the many Harper appointments who have not done us proud, along with Denise Batters and Leo Housakos and Don Plett and the gang of whatever they're doing in the Senate, but it's not for the benefit of Canada. That's for damn sure.
No.
Even though Trudeau reformed the Senate, there are 12 senators that have still decided that they're going to be affiliated with the Conservative Party. 12 out of 105. They're still maintaining that direct link to the party. They just refuse to evolve into the future. Quote, for someone who advocated an independent Senate, Trudeau will have ended up filling the Senate with a large majority of liberals or people who support his policies, said Conservative Claude Carignan. Independent Senate does not mean that the Prime Minister is obligated to appoint people that support different positions than their own. It means that the decisions the senators make while they are in the Senate are not guided, ruled, regulated, or directed in any way by the party.
Mm.
That's what it means. If you have like-minded people who agree on policy in general, or general values, that's one thing. But they are not acting at the direction of the party. That's what independent means. And they keep on trying to have fun with words by giving it another definition. And then he goes, Carignan said that Trudeau, quote, has the power to appoint the senators, but after resigning, I don't think he has the legitimacy to do so. He hasn't resigned, Claude. He is still the Prime Minister. He has announced his intent to step aside once there is a new Liberal leader, and that is not before March 9th. He is still the Prime Minister. He has not resigned. He has not made these appointments after resigning. He made these appointments after announcing he intended to step aside once there's a new leader. In other words, I'm still the leader. I'm still the Prime Minister. It is perfectly legitimate. Why are you lying? Why are you lying? And you just... There were 22 vacancies in the Senate when Trudeau took power in 2015. So far, he's appointed 90 senators in total. Due to retirements, there will be 10 positions to fill as of February 2nd. Historically, Canadian senators have been affiliated with a political party. However, Trudeau caught Liberal senators by surprise in 2014 when he expelled all of them from the Liberal caucus, which was in opposition at the time. After taking power the following year, he changed the nomination process, calling on an advisory committee to recommend candidates based on merit. These new senators were described as independent because they were not affiliated with any political party, and there is one step removed, just like for the Supreme Court. It's not like Justin Trudeau draws up his own list and say, hey, pick from this. There's a committee. They pick a short list, and from that short list, the Prime Minister. So turn around, like, Prime Minister's personal friends and buddies. It's like, he's not making the short list. Maybe you could say that the Prime Minister appointed his friends and buddies to the advisory committee, but I believe the advisory committee is multi-party. So it's less now, the Prime Minister's personal appointments, than they were under Harper.
Mm.
It's more legitimate now, Mr. Carignan. Like, these people, they just invent reality and state it as a fact and hope you don't know better. Again, they treat you like you're stupid. And some of you donate to them for that privilege. Why? I just don't get it. Okay. So, Senate. More brouhaha there. Now, we get to the good part. So, as Mr. Grizzly said, today, the foreign interference report is going to come down. So I think you said 11:45, Mr. Grizzly?
Yes, 11:45.
Is what you mentioned? Yes. So I will be tuning into that and watching. I think Kits and Cubs, when the report is released, I'm going to start recording. I'm going to read it, basically. I'm going to do a reading because I know a lot of people are not a big fan of sitting down with a big document or in front of a computer screen and reading stuff, and don't and some people, like I said, prefer audiobooks, that type of stuff. So I'm going to treat the report as an audiobook. I'm going to read it. I don't know how long it will be, so I might not be able to do all in one show. I might do it in separate segments. There may be part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, depending on how long. But I think I will do a reading, because I think at least our audience and those who fall upon it might be more likely to actually consume the report if someone reads it to them than if they have to sit down and take time to read it themselves.
Right.
Because if you can listen to the report while you're making dinner rather than have to sit down in front of it, because you can't make dinner while you're sitting down and reading a document. You got to lift your eyes up from it to cut the onions, right? So, hopefully we'll do that. I don't know what your schedule is, Mr. Grizzly, but if ever you want to pop in, more than invited. But I'm going to start it because let's say it's a 200-page report. I don't want to wait a week before I start, so I'll just start cranking it out. And whatever you're able to join me with, that would be great.
I need to show you something that is, I find rather suspect. Watch this. You need to see this, okay? So this is from the 24th of January, Liberal Party, 33.2, Conservative Party, 37, New Democratic, Greens. Scroll down to Mark Bourgon. Absolute nonsense. I'm in Ottawa Centre and overhearing people at other resto tables talking trash to Carney. Delusional. To which I responded, I too am in Centertown, Ottawa, and am hearing the exact opposite of what you claim. Now watch what happens when I hit the reply button.
Oh, something wrong. Wow. Yeah, I've had that a couple times too.
The algorithm won't let me have my say.
Wow.
And I'm only replying to one guy.
Something went wrong, but don't fret. Let's give it another shot.
It says accounts. Voice of Frankie follows or mentioned can reply. So since I don't think Frank Graves follows me, no, he does not. So I took him off. I'm just trying to reply to this one guy. This guy here, I'm trying to reply to him and say, what you're saying, I disagree with because I'm hearing the exact opposite. And look at that. I can't have my say on the Twitter. I wonder why that is.
Interesting.
It's supposed to be the last bastion of free speech, the town square. But if you say something I don't like, we block you.
Wow. Interesting.
Elon Musk is an asshole.
And Pierre Poilievre wants to roll out the red carpet for him.
Yes, he does. I can say that on Blue Sky, though, but I don't need to because there's no assholes on Blue Sky spewing bullshit.
Wow. Okay. So, today, according to the Globe and Mail, Robert Fife and Stephen Chase, the final report from Canada's Foreign Interference Commission to be released Tuesday is set to lay out how Ottawa and its security and electoral agencies can better protect the country's political system from foreign meddling. But all eyes will be on what Justice Marie-Josée Hogg, the commissioner, says about federal politicians suspected of working for hostile powers. The House of Commons asked the public inquiry to investigate a June 2024 report by an intelligence watchdog that said some parliamentarians are, quote, semi-witting or witting participants of efforts by foreign states to interfere in Canadian politics. So yes, that was in June. You remember that report came out and got a lot of tongues wagging. The National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians said it has read, quote, troubling intelligence, saying that some federal politicians accepted funds from foreign governments or leaked classified information to foreign intelligence officers or provided privileged information to foreign diplomats about fellow parliamentarians. Conservative Foreign Affairs critic Michael Chong said he hopes Justice Hogg recommends that Ottawa release the names of parliamentarians who colluded with foreign powers against Canada's interest. Of course, because he would like all criminal investigations to get blown up. Canadians deserve to know before the next election so they can make an informed choice at the ballot box, says Mr. Chong. But this apparently does not apply to the Conservative platform or policies. We need to know the names. But you don't need to know what we've got planned for you, though, before you vote. Mr. Chong. Yay. Justice Hogan Republic Inquiry Team have Justice Hogan Republic Inquiry Team have access to all the secret information on these alleged activities, although the Inquiries Act does not allow her to publicly name politicians suspected of wittingly or unwittingly participating in foreign interference. So again, the Inquiries Act does not allow her to publicly name politicians. Michael Chong hopes she will release the names. So Michael Chong is hoping that Justice Hogg will break the law.
course he is. I told you he's been so disappointing. I
He's
really did
literally
like him at one time, but he's
calling for the leader of the inquiry to break the law. When the whole purpose of this inquiry is supposed to be to shore up the law.
Mhm.
Conservatives hate Canada.
Clearly.
Releasing the names and breaking the law makes us weaker. Makes us weaker. Not putting oil on the table in a negotiation makes us weaker. Having an election before Trump announces what those tariffs might be, and we have a chance to know what they are and figure out which party is best to be able to handle that, makes us weaker. Why are the Conservatives always proposing that we do things that make us weaker? The party that's supposed to want to run this country should not be campaigning on making us weaker, more vulnerable, a softer target. But the Conservatives, this is literally what they're working. I don't understand it.
I don't understand a lot of things.
I know. And while she's promised to address the allegations in the classified version of her final report, so we probably won't see what she's going to say about the allegations about those MPs because they will be in the classified version of the report, she has said Canadians will not be left completely in the dark about what transpired. NSICOP's conclusions differs from that of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Actually, this article, literally, if I'm reading it, says NSICOP's conclusions differs from that of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Okay, Bob. Who suggested that the all-party committee had overreached in its conclusions. Mr. Trudeau testified that he had not seen evidence of any MP who committed treason. Stephanie Carvin, or Carvin, maybe? I'm not sure if it's Carvin or Carvin. I'm going to say Carvin. Stephanie Carvin, a former national security, because there's no accent on the E in Stephanie, so I'm going to say Stephanie Carvin. A former national security analyst and a professor at Carleton University said the commission needs to resolve this. Quote, at the end of the day, we were given two different stories where NSICOP said people were wittingly or unwittingly collaborating with foreign governments, and then you had the government saying, no, we don't see it that way. And I think Canadians deserve some kind of clarification or answer as to what the truth of the matter is. And mind you, Elizabeth May also said that she didn't see it that way. Jagmeet Singh, however, said he was very concerned. And Mr. Blanchet didn't really have anything one way or the other. Let's see. In the government submission to the inquiry in November, it is noted that Mr. Trudeau's national security and intelligence advisor, Nathalie Drouin, also testified that, quote, she has not seen evidence of any MP who undertook espionage or sabotage activities or any MP that imperiled the security of Canada. Those are very, very specific terms, by the way. However, Justice Hogue rules, the Centre for International Governance Innovation said in its submission that the Commission's report, quote, must produce a compelling, factual, evidence-based analysis of the allegations. Quote, this analysis should be accompanied by an assessment of Parliament's vulnerabilities to future foreign interference, campaigns, and recommendations on how parliamentarians can better equip themselves to deal with foreign interference efforts that might target them or their staff. And again, kids and cubs, I point out that if any of these recommendations require legislation, the Conservative Party of Canada has been campaigning for the past several months on having an election before we can secure it. And the NDP seems to be doing the same thing for the last couple of months. Although maybe a few more polls showing them at 13 or 14 might change their mind about going in March. Maybe. Who knows? You never know. Or maybe tariffs actually being delivered. Well, then the NDP, now things have changed.
Sure,
you have to understand. And while that will be true, come on. Guy was elected in November.
Yeah.
You should have figured out before then that things would change. So, also unknown is what Justice Hogue will say about allegations from Mr. Trudeau in his October 16th testimony. He told the inquiry that he received highly classified intelligence that the Conservative Party politicians and members were involved or were susceptible to foreign interference. He later acknowledged that Liberals and members of other political parties were also compromised. And based on Kirkland Lake Bot Farms Remembers campaign that Chandra was so good and Ruby is the next, I'm guessing that the Conservative Party politicians and members are still rather susceptible to foreign interference, especially given that they've said nothing about it as it's going on right now in real time. Okay. Mr. Trudeau also pointed to the NCCOP report that alleged there was foreign interference in the 2022 leadership contest in which Mr. Poilievre was elected. NCCOP did not identify whether this interference involved Mr. Poilievre or other candidates. It is still unclear if the intelligence the Prime Minister was referring came from NCCOP report or more recent intelligence. Mr. Trudeau urged Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre to obtain a national security clearance so he would be aware of foreign interference activities affecting the Conservative caucus. Mr. Poilievre has so far refused to do so, and nobody has presented a freaking law. Make it law. Make him do it. Force him.
This is what we keep saying.
Jeez. Instead, Mr. Poilievre demanded that Mr. Trudeau release the names of MPs in every party who have collaborated with foreign states, thus blowing up our national security. He accused Mr. Trudeau of making up the allegations to distract attention from his internal leadership troubles and allegations that, quote, he knowingly allowed Beijing to interfere and help him win 2 elections. Sure. For the most part, the inquiry's final report is expected to focus on protecting elections and countering disinformation and harassment of diaspora communities. In the fall, Justice Hogue heard from a wide range of witnesses, including those who believe there is little need to put in tougher measures to fight foreign interference. We suspect of them. The public input has provided invaluable contextual information to the Commission on how foreign interference has affected individuals in Canada, particularly members of our diaspora communities who may be especially vulnerable to foreign interference, Justice Hogue said in a statement on January 16th. The inquiry heard from Caroline Simard, the Commissioner of Canada Elections, whose job is to investigate election wrongdoing. She said investigators lack the power to lay charges if an individual elector faces acts of intimidation. Maybe we should have a law for that. Maybe we should do it before the next election. Maybe we shouldn't make Parliament fall as soon as it opens so that we can pass such a law. Maybe. Conservatives? Bloc? NDP? Greens? Anyone?
What do you think?
Maybe.
What do you think? Anyone? Bueller? Maybe.
Chief Electoral Officer Stéphane Perrault recommended to the Commission in November that steps be taken to protect the voting process from disinformation and foreign adversaries that use artificial intelligence-generated deepfakes. Legislative changes are also needed to counter spamouflage, disinformation campaigns, and bot networks on social media, he said. Of 22 proposals presented by Mr. Perrault to the inquiry, so Elections Canada has been on this for a while. They've got 22 different freaking proposals. Elections Canada says it needs legal authority. Yeah. So somebody's like, say, here's all the things you can do. I've written it all up for you. All you have to do is put it in the bill and pass it.
Not rocket surgery.
Right? And remember, Elections Canada is one of the most respected electoral bodies on the entire planet.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy who's leading it has 22 proposals. Maybe we should listen to this guy. Maybe make a few of them law. Maybe.
How much you want to bet the cons will come out and protest every single one of these?
Oh, yes. Justin Trudeau's trying to rig the system to help him win. Elections Canada says it needs legal authority to prevent false information from being deliberately spread during elections. Well, I could see why the Conservatives would have a problem with that.
Who
Some
has
of the proposals.
Compliance agreement again?
Yeah. Pierre Poilievre.
Lifelong?
The only reason that, excuse my language, the only reason that prick's ass is not in jail.
That's right. Like he
well, maybe not in jail. Still, he wouldn't be in jail, but doesn't have a criminal record. Let's put it that way.
He would have been charged and tried and convicted. Whether he would have done time is the question, but he would have been because he broke the law.
Because I'm pretty sure people don't agree to sign compliance agreements if they think they're going to go to trial and win.
Yeah, that's usually how it works.
Usually, if you think you're going to go to trial and win, you roll your dice. So the only reason why the leader of the party, who really wants to be prime minister, does not have a criminal record today, is because Elections Canada granted him the grace of saying, oops, I made an oopsie, and I'll never do it again.
They really shouldn't
Please
have
believe
given
me.
him that break. They
No.
should have charged him. Effectively, folks, for those of you who might be watching and are confused by what the compliance agreement is, think of it like this. It's a plea bargain.
It's a deferred prosecution agreement.
I mean,
I agree to not do these things ever again, and if you catch me, you can bring my ass to court for the thing I did last time.
They should have just charged him right from the get-go. I don't know why they didn't.
He's a cheater.
Simple as that. An admitted one. An admitted cheater.
Yes,
He wrote a document, signed a document saying that he cheated.
Yes. And he leads the party that pleaded guilty in court to electoral finance cheating. This party has criminality and cheating in its DNA. I cannot express it. These are not good people. It's the corruption party of Canada, has been from day one. The second they stuck the shiv into Peter MacKay, that was it.
Well, what was it I keep reading online? David Frum re-quoted it just a couple of days ago. He says, if they cannot win via democracy, they will abandon democracy.
Yes.
Altogether. They'll abandon it altogether to get what they want, which is ultimately power.
The origin story of this party, the Conservative Party of Canada, not the Progressive Party of Canada,
Correct.
whose legacy they try to steal, but the Conservative Party of Canada, the one that existed since Stephen Harper made it the Progressive Conservative Party of Canada.
No, the Conservative Party.
The Conservative Party of Canada. Sorry. Made it the Conservative Party of Canada. Its origin story, its birth is in betrayal.
Mm-hmm. Millions of Canadians don't know this. They just don't know.
That
they hear Conservative Party and they think it's the old Progressive Conservative. It's not.
Yes.
It's the Reform Party under another name. And remember, when they first joined up, was the CCRAP, Canadian Conservative Reform Alliance Party.
They should have kept that name. That was at least truth in advertising.
Yes. When you look at them, all you see is crap.
Yep. You see crap federally and UCP provincially. Yay. Of 22 proposals presented by Mr. Perot to the inquiry, Elections Canada said it needs legal authority to prevent false information from being deliberately spread during elections. Some of the proposals were already in legislation that died when Parliament was prorogued. Legislation that could have been passed by the NDP and the Bloc had they lifted the filibuster for it. But I guess they too don't really care about clean elections.
No, they don't give a damn.
A lot of people running to mics and cameras and clutching pearls. And, oh, we need a foreign interview. Because, oh, here's a law to bake some. No, we can't pass that.
No. We have to worry about Beijing's influence. You mean China? No, Beijing. Beijing's a city in China. Beijing. Why can't you say China, Pierre? It's because it's Beijing. No, it's because your party tied us to China for 31 years.
Every time he says Beijing, he's Beijing.
Well, that's true.
He's making everything beige. It's all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's unique about this. Nothing about this stands out that deserves your attention. It's all beige. Beijing.
They never say the word China. Not once, ever.
Nope.
Nobody in that party, in the Reform Party that calls themselves conservative, says China. They say Beijing every time. Because they know if they say China, the FIPA agreement that we tied to, that was signed in secret in Russia, by the way, by former Prime Minister Stephen Harper, tying us to China for 31 years. China can sue us at the drop of a hat if they don't like the way we talk about them. I'm not making this up. This is legit.
Right. Yep.
I think there's, 20 years left on the thing, or 22
Something
years?
like that, yeah. We're stuck in this for a long time.
Yeah.
They sold us out.
And that's all the
Elections
Conservatives do. They just sell everything off.
Yep.
For a short, quick buck.
Yep. Elections Canada also says third-party funding must come only from Canadian citizens and permanent residents. Hello, convoy. These third parties should also be banned from using property or services provided by a foreign entity. So, for example, no galas at the Russian embassy.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the Canadian elections, not that there has been one that we know of. The Canada Elections Act should also be amended to stop all purchases of bulk party memberships and disallow contributions of cryptocurrency and other untraceable methods, such as money orders and prepaid cards. Yes, please.
Yeah. So
before the next election, please. Yes, I would like that a lot. Yes, please.
So
yes,
I'm going to
please.
steal a line from the Conservatives here that they love to tout all the time. This sounds like, what is it again? Common sense.
Mm. Mm-hmm. The agency also recommended that only Canadians and permanent residents should be allowed to vote in nomination contests and leadership races, which the Liberals have done this time around. Mr. Perrault said the Liberals have shown that they're willing to take some of the recommendations before they even become law. Conservatives? Mr. Perrault said the Elections Act prohibits bribery and intimidation during elections, and these measures should be extended to nominations or leadership contests. And once again, I can fully understand why the Conservative Party would be against that. Candidates in these contests should also be required to file a financial return with Elections Canada. And I can definitely see why the Conservatives would be against that. It's unlikely that many of these recommendations, if accepted by Justice Hogue, can be implemented before Canadians head to the polls. All three major parties vowed to defeat minority Liberal government shortly after Parliament resumes sitting on March 24th. Now, had I written this article, that paragraph would have been rewritten to say, it appears unlikely for the moment that the opposition parties would be willing to allow Parliament to operate long enough to pass these recommendations and make them law in time for the next election. Rather than focusing on them. Why not rewrite that paragraph to let Canadians know that rather than say, well, it's unlikely that these will happen because they've called, said it could very well happen if people had the will. All these things, and right now you're preconditioning Canadians to say, well, yeah, all this has come up, but don't expect anything, because rather than telling Canadians, it's like, there would be an opportunity to make these in law when Parliament reconvenes if the opposition parties allow, push back their thing on wanting to provoke an election enough to make sure that the next election is actually secure. But Robert Fife did not write that. Wonder why. A new Liberal leader will be elected on March 9th, and there's every possibility that the winner will call a snap election before the return of Parliament. Some foreign interference measures were put in place in the aftermath of Justice Hogue's first report, which was delivered on May 3rd. It dealt with foreign meddling in the 2019 and 2021 elections, while electoral interference, mostly from China, did not alter the overall outcome of the two elections. She concluded it may have affected results in a small number of ridings. So once again, the federal government has actually acted on stuff to shore up, but the Conservatives are being unhelpful. Justice Hogue called foreign meddling, quote, a stain on our electoral process, and laid out how China, India, and other hostile states interfered in Canadian elections through illegal campaign donations, bribery, blackmail, threats, cyber attacks, and disinformation campaigns. And once again, the Conservatives seem to be quite fine with having a stain on our electoral process. Before last summer's recess...
If they can win with it, they don't give a shit.
Yep. Before last summer's recess, Parliament passed sweeping legislation to combat foreign interference by creating a mandatory registry for people undertaking influence activity. The registry that Mr. Chandra, that everybody thinks is so good, opposed. It actually sponsored a petition to oppose.
That's why they think.
By the way, yeah, maybe that's why Conservatives think he's so good. Except it was the Conservatives calling for this registry, but they don't seem to be happy that now that they've got it. Interesting. Amazing. It's interesting when you virtue signal that you want something to defend Canada, but you don't really want it. And then you happen to get it. Shit. What it is that you do after to try to undermine it. Hey, let's all support Chandra. Let's get all our butts to tell everybody, hey, go to the Liberal Convention and vote for the worst.
I hope they all vote for Chandra, who's not even on the ballot.
Well, there's some people I'm going to write Chandra on the ballot. I'm pretty sure, Boo Boo Kitty, there will be no line for you for writing candidate on the ballot. So, but hey, if you want to go there and spoil a ballot in a leadership race, which I don't understand what purpose that has. In a federal election, yes, you send, but in a leadership race, I mean, I guess you could spoil it and say none of the above. But if you want to waste your precious time going to the convention and writing Chandra on a ballot only to have it like, sorry, it's your life. It's what you want to do with your time.
Feel free,
But I mean, it's not even a spoiled ballot in this case, right?
No. Yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, technically, I guess it is.
Technically,
it's just a waste of time because you're not sending a particular signal.
A waste of time and money.
Yeah. Let's see what else here. The Countering Foreign Interference Act, which received all party support, well, at least conservatives voted for that, also created new criminal offenses, including one to deal with political interference. The law makes it easier to prosecute anyone who tries to coerce someone with intimidation or threats on behalf of a foreign entity or terrorist group. The law also establishes a Foreign Influence Transparency Commissioner who would hold office for up to 7 years and be appointed after consultation with leaders in the Commons and Senate. The office, which would have the same investigative powers as a superior court, would oversee a mandatory registry requiring people who conduct influence activity for foreign entities in the provincial or federal politics to register. It has yet to be set up. In the fall hearings, the inquiry heard testimony of how China and India seek to influence diaspora communities and elect MPs sympathetic to their interests through illicit funding and disinformation campaigns. The inquiry heard that Russia is mostly involved in disinformation operations in Canada, while Iran seeks to silence Iranian Canadians. Pakistan attempts to clandestinely support politicians who promote that country's interests over India. In some instances, the inquiry heard that candidates may not even know their campaigns received illicit money. India, like China, also resorts to disinformation campaigns to spread false narratives about politicians they view as unfriendly. Coke on a plane, for example. It's not clear what the inquiry will say about India's alleged role in the June 2023 murder of Sikh separatist leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar, or allegations of New Delhi's involvement in other violent acts in Canada. On Thanksgiving, RCMP Commissioner Mike Duhem linked Indian government officials to homicides, extortions, and coercion committed on Canadian soil. That day, Ottawa expelled 6 Indian diplomats, including High Commissioner Sanjay Kumar Verma. India staunchly denied the allegations and expelled 6 Canadian diplomats, sending bilateral relations into an even deeper freeze. Aside from India's role in violent activities, the Globe and Mail has reported that Iran plotted to assassinate former Justice Minister Erwin Kotler, a harsh critic of the clerical regime. The attempt on his life was recently foiled by law enforcement authorities. Mr. Kotler has been under 24/7 RCMP protection for more than a year after the October 7th, 2023 mass killings in Israel by Hamas gunmen. The Canadian Security Intelligence Service told him that he was a high-profile target of Iran, a longtime sponsor of the militant group. And with that, I'd like to point out, Mr. Grizzly, given that clip that you showed us today about Pierre Poilievre calling Anthony Housefather someone who's in the wing of Hamas. Because if you so want to defend Jewish people, Mr. Poilievre, how about making sure that these laws are passed so that they can help someone like Erwin Kotler, because you are now aware of an actual assassination attempt on a Jewish person that was foiled. And still, you don't care enough. But you want Jewish people to believe that you're their guy.
He will say whatever he needs to try and gain power. This is the man who openly called the prime minister a Marxist. And nobody in the media addressed that, except for us. And we're not even the media. We're just a couple of guys with a podcast. No one addressed it. Not anybody in legacy media ever spoke about that. And if I'm wrong, please point it out to me, because I'd love to see something from legacy or mainstream media that would show a pushback on that. But I've not seen it.
Yep.
And I don't believe it's out there.
I have not come across it either. The Raoul Wallenberg Center for Human Rights, founded by Mr. Kotler, urged Justice Hogue to recommend that police disrupt Iran's criminal networks in Canada and make glorification of terrorist groups an offense under the criminal code. Mr. Chong, the Conservative MP who had been targeted by China, asked the Hogue inquiry to make a finding on why it took 54 days in the lead-up to the 2021 election for then Public Safety Minister Bill Blair to sign a CSIS warrant to electronically monitor former Ontario Cabinet Minister Michael Chan. Mr. Chan, now Deputy Mayor of Markham, was a key Liberal organizer and fundraiser in the Chinese community. The Globe has reported that he has since been a target of interest to CSIS since 2015. He has responded that he is loyal to Canada and accuses CSIS of tarnishing his reputation. Mr. Blair said he signed the warrant immediately after it was brought to his attention and then blamed his chief of staff, Zita Astravas, for the delay. In her testimony, Ms. Astravas was unable to explain the delay. Mr. Chung said the inquiry must therefore conclude Ms. Astravas delayed approving the warrant to protect the Liberal Party and the government. No, they must not conclude that. There could be several other reasons for which. Mr. Chung. Expect the inquiry to make recommendations for federal resources and education in diaspora communities that face harassment from governments abroad. The inquiry heard from representatives of Canadians who trace their roots to Hong Kong, Tibet, Uyghur settlements. Not sure how you pronounce that. I should know how to pronounce that. Uyghur? Uyghur? I don't know the word.
I believe it's Uyghurs, but I don't know.
Uyghur settlements in Xinjiang, Iran, Russia, Ukraine, Eritrea, Ethiopia's Tigray province, Sri Lanka's Tamils, and Sikh populations in India. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of different groups that are being targeted. And we're a pluralist nation. We should be protecting them.
Kidding.
Gloria Fung, immediate past president of Canada Hong Kong Link, said government's funding should be made available for diaspora communities to educate their members in reporting incidents and identifying signs of foreign interference. She urged the Hogue inquiry to recommend that Ottawa set up a national hotline and a secure online reporting system so the public can report, quote, any incidents of infiltration or foreign interference. Ms. Fung urged Canada to ban TikTok and WeChat, a Chinese-language social media application that has been weaponized to spread disinformation and whose parent company is obligated under Chinese law to share data with Beijing. Iranian Canadians said their community struggles to get the RCMP and CSIS to listen to them, and when they warn that people are being targeted by Tehran, both agencies must set up special task forces on foreign interference, and the government should launch a national campaign to educate Canadians about how hostile states seek to influence, bully, and sway diaspora communities. Farzaneh Fard, an Iranian-Canadian human rights advocate, told the inquiry. The public must be educated on how foreign regimes use financial resources within Canada, she said. Awareness campaigns can help citizens understand the importance of sanctions and asset seizures as tools to safeguard democracy. It's likely the final inquiry report will recommend that Ottawa publish annually a National Security Outlook report, relocate the Foreign Disinformation Tracking Unit from Global Affairs to the Department of Public Safety, and strengthen the new Office of the National Counter-Foreign Intelligence Coordinator. So that's that article. And Kids Cubs, the only reason I knew that Farzaneh was pronounced Farzaneh is because my beaver sweetie happens to be working for someone in the science lab whose name is Farzaneh.
Well, there you go. Like
what are the odds? So that's the only way, or else I would have had no idea how to pronounce that name at all.
Pretty good, I guess, the odds are when we're in a pluralist nation. So, you know.
Yes. And I mean, it's not like Iran is a backward culture when it comes to science.
No kidding. I need a coffee. Right. I'll be right back.
So that's the sort of overall setup of what's going on there. Again, we're probably going to get more recommendations on bolstering the security of our elections and that type of stuff than smoking guns. So I just want to, for people thinking like, Skippy is done today. Probably not. And that's unfortunately. But remember, there's that everything about the names will not be in the public report, but will be in the other one. And the leaders of all the parties will know. And I would assume, although I'm not, maybe not the journalists though. That's the leaders of all the parties, except for Pierre, who got their NSICOP level security clearance, will know. And so if we see the leader of the Bloc, the leader of the NDP are suddenly changing a bit of tone over the next few weeks, that they may have seen something in the report that concerned them, could be a reason for that. All right. You know what? There's a lot more going on, but I think that's the main stuff. There's some Doug Ford stuff, but I think we'll be able to do that in another show because he's solving the legislature today, and we'll make the announcement tomorrow. But there's some interesting Auditor General stuff that has come up over the past few days that he's obviously trying to get ahead of and bury by doing this. For example, his alcohol expansion plan is ending up costing us $1.4 billion, actually, according to the Auditor General. His desire to go quickly.
Ford's push to expand alcohol sales early to cost province $612 million, Budget Watchdog says. Yep. This was published at 8:57 a.m. yesterday. This is on the CBC website.
Yep.
So off the top line, $817 million relates to the original plan to liberalize alcohol sales in Ontario by 2026. Meanwhile, $612 million is the estimated cost of Ford's decision to last May to speed up the rollout. That's nearly 3 times the amount the PC government said it would cost. To move up the timeline by 16 months, the Minister of Finance said in an early implementation agreement with the beer store involves Ontario paying the company up to $225 million to keep stores open and workers employed. In its report, the FAO also said, that there will be a $215 million cost as a result of lower tax revenues as grocery, big box, and convenience stores are not subject to beer, wine, and spirit taxes.
Yep.
As well, the FAO said there will be $172 million in lower net income to the LCBO, while there will be a $1.1 billion increase in wholesale LCBO revenue. There will also be an approximately $812 million decline in LCBO retail revenue, a $192 million cost to give wholesale discounts to new retailers, $150 million in service rebates to brewers, $105 million in higher operating expenses, and $22 million in higher recycling fees.
Yeah. So the entire cost doing all that is $1.4 billion. $612 million of that directly attributable to payments and lost revenue until January 1st, 2026, when the original beer store deal would have expired. He could have just waited for the 10-year deal signed with the beer store in 2015 to lapse at the end of this year, in time for what it would have been a regularly scheduled 2026 election in June. But no, he had to go faster at the cost of $1.4 billion to us. And let's remember that Doug Ford is going to this election because he's allegedly the best to negotiate deals.
$2 billion for a waterfront spa in Toronto, $3.2 billion on rebate checks that are going to millionaires and billionaires. Meanwhile, our healthcare system crumbles and housing starts are bottoming out. That's from
colleges
leader Mike Schreiner.
Colleges
are hurting right now because they're not allowed to bring in as many foreign students.
Because the provincial government decided that it was going to fund the mandatory core function of providing post-secondary education to the residents of this province so that we can have a healthy economy, for example,
I guess,
from volatile funding rather than core funding. Maybe the election campaign from the opposition should be making the case that if Doug Ford wants to be the Premier of Ontario, so that he's the person that can negotiate the better deals, he's not negotiating a deal with the United States because he's a preferential Premier. And negotiating with the United States happens at the federal level. He might negotiate some state deals, stuff like that, and he'll certainly be at the table and his contribution will be there, but he's not the one negotiating. But yes, he's the guy for business. Well, maybe the entire campaign from the opposition should be all the times that Doug Ford has made a business deal in our name and it ended up being crap.
Yeah. There's a lot of that.
Because he's not a good businessman.
No, he's not.
Like, not even close.
He was born into money. Just because you have it doesn't mean you know a damn thing about it or how to earn more of it.
Or what to do with it with what you got. It's like knowing how to spend money well is actually hard.
He was a former hash dealer and a college dropout. And somebody decided to hand the province of Ontario over to him to lead because only 43% people turned out in the last election. Look, I got why he got in the first time because people were sick of the Liberals. I get that. It wasn't just leader fatigue at this point. It was party fatigue. But, I mean, they handed him a majority with a 43% voter turnout. Ouch.
Yeah. And the other thing, before we go, Doug Ford did, because apparently he thinks we are, pardon my language, fucking idiots, is that he has announced that he has got money for healthcare all of a sudden. $1.8 billion to connect every Ontarian with primary care within 4 years. When you've been running surpluses, you had that $1.8 million a few years ago. Why billion? Why did you not connect every Ontarian with primary care within 4 years? 4 years ago.
Because he didn't care. Didn't care.
Okay, 4 years ago, had COVID going on. Understandable.
Yeah. But
What have you done since 2023 to connect us with primary care?
Still could have done some money. It could have done something with that money. You did nothing.
I'm just saying,
Meanwhile,
now you've got a plan a day before you dissolve Parliament.
Yeah.
To make sure we don't die in emergency. Now. How many years into your government now? How many years after promising us the end of hallway medicine? Well, yeah, I guess you got that right. We got parking lot medicine now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. Again, this guy thinks he's going to. I know that all the signs are there that says he's going to win, but if that little decrease that we noticed, if Doug Ford is going now, really right now, because he saw the decrease start and it's going to pick up speed, let's say as fast as Pierre's is, if ECOS is correct, then I can understand why he would want to go now. And now he's promising us that he's going to connect us with with primary care within 4 years. But kids and cubs, just before we take that, Doug Ford is so great. He wore that Canada's Not for Sale hat. I am just going to point out here, right, that he has fucked us over completely.
More than once.
You know what a Doug Ford promise is worth. Remember the Green Belt, anyone? I won't touch it. And the second he said, I don't want to touch it, he was feeling it up.
Didn't even buy it a drink first.
Pardon the expression, but he literally grabbed the Green Belt by the pussy after promising us he would not touch it. Don't believe this crap. I'm going to connect you with primary care within 4 years at the cost of one. And then when the election's over, I've got other priorities. Like Danielle Smith with her tax cut, for example. It's only on again when she's in trouble. Oh, look, I happen to found the money. Oh, I'm not in trouble anymore. Oh, look at this. We need the money for other stuff now.
You know what what I fail to understand, what I cannot comprehend is why so many of these provincial politicians, especially in the province of Ontario, where there is no pension for provincial politicians, for MPPs, there's no pension. There's none. That's been gone for over 30 years. Why are they so hell-bent on privatizing healthcare? Because we just recently featured a story where a former MPP was living in a homeless shelter. And you have to remember, every single one of us are closer to living in a homeless shelter than we are to becoming a millionaire or a billionaire. I have more in common with that man on the street with his hand out looking for spare change than I do with any millionaire or billionaire.
Yep.
And I'm closer to that than I've ever been at any other time in my entire life. Because I'm not even getting my full EI benefit right now. I don't have enough money to pay my rent.
Yeah. The MPP you're talking about, Lorenzo Barandaniti, is a former city councillor and Liberal MPP who's living in a homeless shelter. There's some good news about that. actually.
Yes, there was a
On
GoFundMe.
January 11th, homeless former Ontario MPP getting help to leave shelter with National Post. But 3 days ago in a CBC and in the Toronto Star, ex-Ontario MPP who became homeless says it's humbling, politicians rallying to move him out of the shelter.
But that's great, and it's wonderful they're doing this.
Now
Do
it for
more.
everyone. Now do it for
Do
everyone.
more. Do
Not
it
just
for
former
everybody.
MPPs. Yes.
Everyone. But that story really relates to a lot of people, how close we all are to that.
Yep. You know what? I know we're going long, but I'm gonna read this one in here. This is by CBC. When former Toronto City Councillor MPP Lorenzo Berardinetti found himself in a homeless shelter last year, it was a circumstance he never imagined he would face. Quote, "What am I doing here?" he remembered thinking on his first night there. "I never thought this would have happened to me, but it happened." Berardinetti, whose political career spanned 30 years in Toronto's East End, has been living out of the Ajax, Ontario shelter since August 2023, following a bout of unemployment and a series of medical issues. He says he wasn't the only person there who came from a professional background, and the experience highlighted it to him how precarious life in Toronto area is for so many. Quote, "A lot of people come up to me and say, 'You're homeless?'" Berardinetti told CBC Toronto on Friday. They're concerned they may become homeless as well one day, and a lot of people are afraid of that. After the Toronto Star first reported last month that Berardinetti had fallen onto hard times, Ontario politicians rallied to help. Justin Vendette, a former political staffer at Toronto City Hall in Queen's Park, was the first to jump into action. First, he contacted the shelter in Ajax to leave a message for Berardinetti, who called back and gave his permission for Vendette to start an online fundraising campaign to help get him rehoused. Then he reached out to former colleagues at the city and province. Quote, "Everybody who's responded said, 'How can we help? We've lost track of him,' Vendette told CBC Radio's Metro Morning on Friday. Seeing somebody who was very passionate about our city, who stood up for his constituents and residents, and to see that where he has gone since then was shocking and very troubling," Vendette said. Berardinetti served 15 years as a Liberal MPP for Scarborough Southwest before he was defeated in the 2018 provincial election. Before that, he served as a Toronto City Councillor, and before amalgamation, a Scarborough City Councillor. But since his time at Queen's Park, he says times have been tough. A former practicing lawyer, Berardinetti said he took some time off after the 2018 loss to think about what he wanted to do after politics. Ontario MPPs don't receive a pension, and Berardinetti said he used the pension he received from City Hall to pay down a mortgage on his house. That meant he began to rely on his savings. When he started looking for work approaching 60, he said it was harder to find opportunities. A divorce in 2019 set him back, he said, and he began to eat further into his retirement savings. In 2021, he had a brain seizure that forced him to stop looking for work. Quote, "I ended up in the hospital and I was in a coma for about a month. And then I eventually went home at the end of August 2021. And the doctors told me to rest. You know, the brain takes time to heal," he said. But a year later, he attempted to return to politics, running in the 2022 Toronto municipal election. "I found that the energy wasn't there. It was hard to mobilize, and so I didn't win. And I applied for different jobs, but it's hard at my age," he said. Unemployed at a time when homelessness is on the rise in Toronto and the cost of living is forcing more people to turn to food banks, regardless of employment, Berardinetti said he had to sell his car to make ends meet. He eventually ran out of money, he said, and had to move out of the house he was renting after his divorce. After a short stint living with his brother in Ajax, Berardinetti said he moved into a shelter in town in November of 2023. Things have turned around for Berardinetti in recent weeks, physically and financially. Berardinetti said his doctor has cleared him to go back to work, and he goes to the library every day working to renew his law license, set up his own legal practice, and write a book. And after over a year on Ontario's housing list, he's taken himself off and will be able to look for new accommodations with the help of $25,000 raised through Vendette's GoFundMe. The campaign has raised over $35,000 with donations coming from politicians from all across the ideological spectrum. But Vendette says the extra money will be given to the Association of Former Parliamentarians to set up a trust to help other politicians struggling after retirement.
You know, I read stories about people going, "Well, did he squander his money?" It's like, no, your savings only take you so far. And when you don't have a pension, you got nothing coming in.
A couple of bad lucks.
Every single one of us are that close to being in the same situation.
Don't get reelected. Divorce, medical issue.
That's it.
Can happen to anyone.
Anyone.
Lose your job, divorce, medical issue. Not necessarily in that order either.
No.
Right? Politicians from all backgrounds contributed to the campaign, including former Mayor John Tory, former Premiers Kathleen Wynne and Dalton McGuinty, Conservative MPP Lisa MacLeod, and Toronto councillors like Brad Bradford and Parthy Kandaville. It's very humbling, Berardinetti said. The guy that I defeated was a Conservative, Dan Newman. He donated. And the woman who defeated me, who was NDP, Dolly Begum, she donated as well. So compassion is not owned by one party.
No.
So there. Now, do that for everyone.
Do it for everyone.
Just do it for everyone. Clearly, you're capable.
You've just
and
shown
clearly,
that
you know it can happen to you, legislators.
Yes.
So do the right thing.
Change
It
so
always
people don't fall through the cracks. Close
Right.
the cracks up. Seal them forever.
It always costs less to do the right thing first.
Always. An economist will show you that. A true economist, who might even be the most stingiest, tight-wadded, tight-fisted individual on earth, will still say it's cheaper to do this because it's more expensive to everybody to do that.
Yep.
And we lose people daily. People who give up all hope, who are in that situation and just decide, for want of a better term, to maid themselves because they can't hack it anymore.
Yeah.
They can't deal with the pain of living a horrible, painful existence. When you struggle daily just to get food and shelter, what the fuck are we doing as a society? What is going on? Like, I genuinely mean this. What is going on? How is this allowed? Why did we build a society that makes it this way? As I said earlier, if you are on disability, ODSP in the province of Ontario, and you start to earn some money on the side, a little extra cash to help pay the bills, ODSP crawls back what you've earned. So you're never getting ahead. They're keeping you down under the boot heel of the bootstraps they used to pull themselves up by.
Mhm.
You don't even have boots. They keep you down because they need you down. The system is designed this way. We need to change it. Any one of us could be that gentleman. Any single one of us. Some quicker than others. Like if you, sir, suddenly lost your ability to earn any money.
Mhm.
And then let's say
It has happened to me for a short period of time.
you lost your ability to earn money and your partner, just for whatever reason, gone. So what's next? How are you going to pay your mortgage? Well, you do have savings, yes, but that only lasts so long.
Mm-hmm.
In 2 years' time, you could be in his situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when I was in my
happen to anybody.
20s, before I found out about my allergy, there was a period of, before, but I had to stop work for 7 months because I couldn't function. Because I was always in a reaction. Because the thing that I'm allergic to is ubiquitous. It's in almost everything. So basically, anytime I was putting something in my mouth to stay alive, I was making myself sick. It was literally like my environment was attacking me and I couldn't figure out what it was. I was off work for 7 months.
Yeah.
I had to leave. We still hadn't found what was wrong. And the insurance company sent me a note and said, well, we understand that you say you're sick, but you don't have a diagnosis. And without a diagnosis, there's no prognosis. And without a prognosis, there's no plan to return to work. So you're not sick. You need to go back to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I couldn't hack it.
Well, that's
fortunately,
fortunately,
before I got fired, we found out what it was. And then we were back to the insurance company and says, could this be it? And it says, well, yeah, of course. And then they gave me 7 months salary that they had withheld from me.
Yeah, you got lucky in that sense, boy, because
that we found out what it was.
Yes, unlike.
But I would have lost everything.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So unlike the veteran,
I was 29.
Right.
That's how my adult life would have started. 29. I would have been out on the street.
Well, and it's like the veteran who had to go back each year to ask for funds.
Yeah.
because he lost both his legs in a war in Afghanistan and has to go back each year to tell them that, I still don't have any legs.
Yep.
I need prosthesis and a wheelchair. Still don't, the legs didn't grow back.
Yep. Same thing.
We don't know how to do that yet. Grow them back. So.
Yep. Same thing for people who have terminal illnesses. No, they haven't found a cure yet. Still terminal.
Still terminal, yeah.
It's like, you would think of all people, the insurance company would know if they found a cure.
They'd be the first.
Because they got people monitoring that type of stuff, right?
Yeah, so they don't have to pay you.
Yes. So it's like, really, y'all don't know that they haven't found a cure for lung cancer yet. Okay.
Apparently there's a vaccine, though.
Yes. That's coming up.
It was developed in
mRNA.
Cuba. Yes, it was developed in Cuba. I don't know how well it works, but yes, it's something that will be deployed.
Cuba has a pretty good system
Healthcare
for that too, because they've been completely frozen out from the world, so they've had to do their own.
Yeah, they just do whatever they have to do to make things work.
Yeah. Kids and Cubs. Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
We do indeed.
All right. Yay! Kids and Cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Now, remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps and poops all about us. And a lot of you have, because there's been a lot of new people interacting with us over the past few weeks. So thank you for all the work that you are doing. If you do not want to miss an episode, you don't have to, thanks to the Ray Girl, especially on our ears only version. That QR code will bring you right to our pod page, podpage.com/thetruenortheagerbeaver with a hyphen between each one of those words if you're listening. And if you go there, click subscribe when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, zip directly to you. That's it. Don't have to do anything else. We find you. Don't ask how we do it. So, all right. If you would like to help us in other ways, then you need to grab your surfboard and surf on down. Hang 10 to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where Kit Elaine is waiting to greet you and invite you to click on our buttons, like, share, and subscribe. Click them, flick them, lick them. It makes us so happy when you do, and it helps us with the algorithm. So thanks a lot for that. And if you would like to help us in yet another way, Kids and Cubs, well, hey, we have this little place called Coffee. And that's where the Eager Beaver Lodge Emergency Hydration Fund is, or in other words, our tip jar. By the way, Mr. Grizzly, I noticed that we're not the only one who speak of hydration when we talk about support. It seems that Evan Scrimshaw has a strategic rum reserve that he asks people to contribute to. So it seems we're not the only one.
So, my rum reserve is empty. Empty. There's no rum left. There's no rum. I think I have a bottle of scotch in the bar. That's it. That's all that's left.
Please help us contribute to our strategic maple syrup reserves here at the Beaver Lodge by although I'm sweet enough already, by making a contribution to our coffee page. That's coffee.com/eagerbeaver. One word. There you go. And if you do that, you would do like our good friend Kit Wishful, who slid in yesterday and simply said, "Keep going, love it." So thank you so much, with a also very enthusiastic expression of support and encouragement, as Kit Carlos has taught us to call it. So thank you so very much. All our targets for January have been exceeded.
Excellent.
Thank you. So you guys have been absolutely wonderful. It's more than I could have ever hoped for and dreamed for. So thank you, Kids and Cubs, for your support and encouragement. Whenever something like that comes in, whether it's $3, whether it's $100, whatever it is, I guess I'm always just seeing the thing come in gives me a nice warm fuzzy, and it's great validation. So remember, there's no such thing as too little. There's no such thing as too little. Everything is appreciated. And if you're not able to donate financially, we're okay with that. And you should be too, because the gift of your participation and the gift of your attention is what matters most to us. There's so many different podcasts, there's so many TV shows, there's so many news articles, there's so much entertainment, all vying for your attention, and you choose to spend part of your day with us. That means a lot. So please do not worry. Spread the word. You can help in other ways, right? Share,
Yes,
retweet,
exactly.
all that type of stuff. It doesn't have to be financial, but you just being here and contributing, giving us the gift of your attention means the world.
Well,
We
sharing
love
the
to hear from
channel
you.
and getting people to subscribe and to watch helps too, because we
Yes.
are starting to generate some revenue via YouTube algorithms that have to do with advertising. So yeah, it helps. Everything helps. It does. The more eyeballs, the more engagement, the better. So thank you.
Yep. Indeed. Indeed.
I got to pay the
So,
rent.
indeed. Thank God for declining interest rates, I'll tell you, because it makes the mortgage much easier. Take care.
No doubt.
So, kits and cubs, please, if you would like to communicate with us, we love to hear from you. True North Eager Beaver at gmail.com is our email address. We're at True Eager at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge and at the Bad Place. True North Eager Beaver on Facebook. Thank you so much for everyone who interacts with us there. And if you're listening on Facebook, right down here in the comment section, you can leave us a little something. Because democracy is something that you do, please pay attention today to what will be happening with the foreign interference report. Very important. Of course, if you're in the province of Quebec, there's a Liberal leadership race provincially there. Please get involved and find out about your candidates. Of course, federally as well, Liberal leadership race. It is now too late to register to vote in it. But if you are registered and you do have a vote, the various candidates will be reaching out to you or trying to reach out to you in some way, shape, or form between now and the vote date. You are now their core audience. Those of you who have registered, even though they will be talking to everyone, they are your core audience. You are their core audience. So do pay attention to what they have to say, and please make as informed a choice as you are able to. Mr. Grizzly, do you have some words of wisdom?
That's a good question. Do I? Sorry, I'm getting noises in the background here that are throwing me a little off. Do I have words of wisdom for today? Yeah. I recognize that times are tough right now and that it's probably weighing heavy on your emotions, your mental faculties. If you are like me and battle anxiety and depression, it can really weigh heavy on you when you see all of the bad stuff happening around the world right now. A lot of it coming from south of the 49th parallel. And then, of course, we've got north of the 49th parallel, the leader of the opposition, who is an absolute shit-gibbon, who is intent on tearing this country apart and burning it to the ground. Try and remember that you can surround yourself with good people who do good things in your community. You can get out and do good things in your community. And when the election comes around, vote. Because that is your voice. So I know it looks dark. I know it looks bleak. But if we stick together and work together, we can make things better for one another.
Got a couple of comments here from the kits in the chat here. Kit Mr. Jim goes, would it be a conflict of interest for you to endorse a founding sponsor for a Senate seat? I actually don't know. I'd have to think about the ethics of that. And part of me
You can endorse me for a Senate seat. I live just down the street from it. I helped build the damn place. I shouldn't have a seat there, damn it. I thought it was supposed to be the voice of the average Canadian and not some elitist that can afford to pay $350,000 to get into a race for the party leader. Yeah, I have an issue with that. I understand why it's done, but I still think it eliminates somebody like me from even entering.
Yes.
Like the idea that I could enter and become the Liberal leader. No, because it's a $350,000 entrance fee. And where the hell am I going to come up with that?
Yeah, I know.
I have an issue. I understand why it's done. I still have an issue with it. It's as simple as that. It's elitist, and I think it's bad. I get why it's done, but I don't like it. And I don't have to like it.
Yeah. So to answer the question, I don't know if I actually have to sit down and think about that because, I mean, conflicts need to be declared. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't have any conflict in terms of the show would be sort of like, oh, well, you're in the pocket of that politician or you're their mouthpiece. But it's like, well, I mean, if that politician was supporting us before they ever decided to enter politics, it's a pre-existing relationship. We're friends. So, I mean, I'm sure there's certain things that we can't do. There are certain behaviors that we're not allowed to do, but I think we would be allowed to endorse, but I'd have to look into that. I'm actually not sure
Well, I
about
think
that.
if that was the case, they'd probably have to step back as a sponsor.
They might have to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They might have to do
Which,
that.
look, if that will put somebody into a position to help make the country better, I'll take that hit.
Yeah. Yeah. So that might be, that's why I mean, there's certain things we would not be able to do, activities, but the endorsement itself, I think, would be fine. It just might result in other things that can and cannot be done, just a change in dynamics, I would assume. But I would assume that the endorsement itself would not be a conflict. I would just have to, like I said, change behaviors afterwards, or before.
Let's remember something here. I'm going to put this on the screen just because we're talking about Senate seats, right? I think it's important to remember this. What Stephen Harper said, he said that he promised never to appoint a senator. By the time he left government in 2015, he ended up appointing 59 senators. But he was never going to appoint one.
No.
So in other words, don't take the Conservatives at their word because it's meaningless.
Yep.
It's meaningless.
There's just none. There's just none. All right. Mr. Grizzly, please cue the cog.
I can do that.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
I have a couple of tidbits for you.
Okay.
The first one, this is from Raw Story. Trump moves to stop Bush-era AIDS relief program that saved millions. President Donald Trump has ordered a decades-old program dating back to George W. Bush administration that has saved millions of lives abroad by distributing HIV medications to low-income countries, the New York Times reported, even if the drugs have already been obtained and are sitting in local clinics. Trump's move to withdraw the U.S. from the World Health Organization, which many in the GOP have accused of being overly protective of the Chinese government during the COVID-19 pandemic. That foreign aid pause only applies for 3 months, however, according to the Times. On Monday afternoon, officials worldwide were alerted that PEPFAR's data systems would shut down at 6 p.m. Eastern, roughly 3 hours after the email was received, immediately closing off access to all data sets, reports, and analytical tools. He's trying to kill people.
Yep. Days cut for all foreign aid is paused.
And here's another one from him. President Donald Trump suggested Monday that the United States deport not only undocumented immigrants, but U.S.-born citizens who commit crimes.
Yep. To where?
This guy is Hitler 2.0 because Hitler did the same goddamn thing. And we talked about it at length yesterday at the end of the show. It's the same damn thing. If you cannot see that or you refuse to see it, I can't help you. If you see that and go, hey, wait a minute, that might not be a good idea. Yeah, it's because he's Hitler 2.0. Remember, Hitler started in the 20s. He didn't start with gas chambers. He worked his way up to it. And if you think this prick won't do the same thing, let me tell you what he said to his nephew, whose son is severely disabled. Just let him die. That's what he said to him. I watched a 60 Minutes Australia report yesterday about this.
Yep.
If Donald Trump, the president of the United States, believes, like Hitler did, if you can't contribute to society, you are an eater, and eaters do not deserve to live. He said, just let them die. This is a cold, callous, uncaring man. If you don't see that he's Hitler 2.0, I cannot help you.
Yeah.
But when they come for the trade unionist, I'm speaking up. When they come for the trans people, I'm speaking up. Because I know how that fucking poem ends.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Just a couple of comments here from the kits from the chat that were very helpful that I did not mention. Kit PNC Bio, when talking about the Bank of Canada rate and inflation and all that kind of stuff, says GST coming back will have a slightly deflationary effect. So a small interest rate drop might take the edge off. That's good. I had forgotten that point. I'm glad you mentioned that. Environmental Coffee House Kit. Environmental Coffee House got a giggle of me saying that Pierre Poilievre found his inner Mitch McConnell, and somebody thought that my Mitch McConnell impression was pretty good. So thank you so much. A couple of kits have been naming potential senators they'd like to see, and Kit Linnea mentioned Senator Bob Ray. There's also Senator Brittlestar, and there somebody also suggested a Senator Me. You don't want to give me that power. You don't.
I'll take the position.
And yes,
and I'll be there every damn day.
Yes, and last but not least, happy birthday to Kit Swanky Frankie.
Oh, hey, Frankie, happy birthday, brother.
Forever 21, forever 1988. Cheers. All right, that's all I got. Have a terrific day, everyone. 11:45 Eastern Time. Watch it.
One more thing to show you here. Let's see if we can try and reply. Once again, I'm going to try and...
One more time.
Absolute nonsense. I'm in Ottawa Center and overhearing people at the other resto tables talking trash to Carney, delusional. I too am in Centertown, Ottawa, and I'm hearing the exact... I took out the word exact. I'm hearing the opposite of what you claim. Let's try and reply. Nope. I'll keep trying, but the algorithm won't let me speak ill of somebody who's speaking ill of somebody else. Funny how that works, eh? I'll see you later.
Huh.